Welcome, everyone, to TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. I'm your host, TJ, and with me here, as always, is the Grumpy Old Man. They say there's no shame in his game because he is always the same.
That's me.
Grump, how are you doing this evening?
Pretty good, pretty good. How about yourself?
Not bad. What you watching over there?
Got the Mets on over here.
Oh, the Mets against the Padres. Yeah. Carlos Carrasco against Musgrove facing off this Sunday evening.
I'm in a tightly contested battle playing TJ this week in fantasy baseball.
Nobody cares about fantasy baseball, Grump.
I do.
Anyway, getting past that, you'd love to mention all these fantasy sports. Always. But welcome to the show. For those of you who are new, we invite you to stick around a while. This is a twice-a-week sports-based podcast. We talk anything sports-related. So we talk NFL, college sports. We talk NHL, NBA, MLB. We talk European football. We talk anything and everything sports. We go live every single Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and every single Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're new to the show, again, as I told you earlier, we invite you to stick around a while. We invite you to subscribe on YouTube, to like on Facebook, and to follow on Twitter. Grump, we have a lot to talk about today. Obviously, MLB Trade Deadline is coming up, and it's coming up soon, August the 2nd. So we're just only a few days away. Big names like Shohei Ohtani possibly might be on the move. Names like Juan Soto might be on the move.
Yeah, the Shoei Otani thing just kind of really caught me off guard.
I was about to say, that's more recent that those type of developments just began. So we'll see as things get closer how legitimate of a trade option or of a possibility of a trade, for him for massive assets back in return it will be. The reigning MVP, Grumpy Old Man, and again he's off to a fantastic season as well in the AL for the Angels as well this year.
Yeah, like I said, for me though, I'm flabbergasted by that one.
Well, we've always talked about it, how it's odd that you've got two guys who are probably Hall of Fame caliber players in Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani on the same team, and they just cannot string together wins. But let's continue back to what else we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about possibility, the MLB trade deadline, players that are going to be moved, obviously speculation about Juan Soto as well as Shohei Ohtani. We're going to be talking about the Tennessee Volunteers football program. Might have some sanctions coming up on the way, Grumpy Old Man. They had, I think it was 18 different times, I'm trying to remember exactly what it is. Let me pull that article. I'm telling you, it is an odd one. You've got at least 18 different recruiting infractions, including $60,000 of gifts and cash given to multiple football recruits and players by head coach, his wife, numerous coaches and donors, as well as setting up nail salon visits on recruiting trips. I don't know. Maybe they're getting a mani-pedi, but I don't know. That's one of those that you kind of wonder if there was something else going on behind closed doors. So we're going to talk about a little bit about the allegations and the possible sanctions that could follow for the Tennessee Volunteers football program and Tennessee athletics. Also, Grump, we're going to be talking NFL, man. NFL and college football is right around the corner. We're going to talk about that. And there was also a huge blockbuster NHL trade between the Florida Panthers and the Calgary Flames. So we're going to be talking about all these big items on today's show, Grump.
Have we not talked about that already on this show?
On the Islanders podcast, that's correct.
I thought we also talked about it Thursday.
When was the deal completed?
I don't remember.
I thought the deal was done on Friday, so give me a sec.
Okay. I thought we talked about that already on Thursday. I could be wrong.
Give me a second. No, it was 2 days ago. So yeah, no, we definitely didn't do that on Thursday. Okay. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about that. Yes, I think that trade occurred on Friday evening. I think you texted me, Grump, and said, holy crap, look at this trade. So yeah, we'll talk about that trade today. Grump, let's talk about big number one item, the MLB trade deadline. My goodness gracious, you just had mentioned you were shocked, flabbergasted, in fact, that Shoei Otani might be on the move, Grumpy.
Yeah, to me, that's like, wow. I was really caught off guard by that. Why would they look to move him?
He's having another fantastic year. I assume maybe they think they're going to get a huge haul back in return, as they would. I mean, he's a fantastic, fantastic player. He does it all. He's having another MVP caliber season after just winning the AL MVP last year, putting up gaudy numbers there with the bat and also pitching. So you're going to have to assume you're going to get a huge return, an absolutely monstrous return for Shohei Ohtani. But yeah, he's a guy in the prime of his career, and you're trading away an MVP caliber player.
And they're looking for rostered players, like major league rostered players, which is unusual because it looks like the Angels are not going to make the playoffs for the 8th straight year.
Yikes.
You think they'd want to do? I don't understand why, for the life of me, they look to move Ohtani. You might as well move.
What are you watching?
I'm not watching anything. You might as well move Trout as well. I mean, if you want
to, injured right now.
I don't care if he's injured or not. I mean, if you're looking, Shohei Ohtani is like your marquee player. I'm just at a loss why they even consider moving him. I mean, this is just recent news, like within the last 40 minutes. And I'm like, what? And they want to be able to compete. I'm like, okay. I mean, but that changes the whole landscape of the trade deadline. But teams have been inquiring.
I think he's right. It was originally Juan Soto is the best player that could possibly move at that trade deadline. If Shohei Ohtani's being moved, Ohtani's at a whole different level. I mean, they're both very talented players. Shohei Ohtani in the prime, in his peak, he's just a whole different level. He's something completely different than Juan Soto. Not trying to diminish Juan Soto's ability or talents.
Yeah, but he's also quite a bit older than Juan Soto.
Correct. He's 29.
Well, that's a big difference. That's like a 5-year. That's like a 5-year.
Turn the Mets game off. Hit pause.
The Mets game is off. That's a 5-year difference in age. I think you get more for Soto than you do for Ohtani.
I think you're nuts. Okay. Shohei Ohtani, what has he played? 500 career games, and he's got like 113 career MLB home runs. The guy is consistently around the low 3s or the upper 2s for ERA, striking out like 200 guys a year when he's batting like 270, 30 plus homers, 100 RBIs, 100 runs with stolen bases thrown in there. The bat alone puts him in conversation for MVP candidate talks, and then you throw in the fact that he's also pitching. It's just something different, Grump.
He's 29. The other guy's 24. That's the difference. You're gonna have Soto for 15 years.
Okay.
Or let's say even 12. How long do you think Ohtani's going to be able to play at that level as a pitcher as well? Maybe another 6 or 7. That's going to be it. I'm just saying
6 or 7 years of Shohei Ohtani in his peak is far superior than whatever Juan Soto can dream of.
No,
Shohei Ohtani is the best player in the MLB.
I'm not saying that he's not, but
okay, so the guy who's the best player in the MLB, you've got a guy who's the best player in the MLB for the next 5 years. Maybe Juan Soto could dream of scratching that. He's never done it before. Maybe he could dream of scratching that potential.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, you're underselling Juan Soto. That's fine. They're going to get more.
I'm sorry. Shohei Ohtani's 28, just turned 28 years old.
They're going to get more for Soto than they are for Ohtani. You don't know where Ohtani's how long he's going to want to play in the United States, first of all. You don't know.
You think he's trying to book his trip back to Japan? Doesn't want to play in the United States?
All I said was
the MLB anymore.
All I said was that you don't know how long he wants to play in the United States. He might want to go back to Japan after another 5 or 6 years. He might want to do that. Maybe he wants to play, in front of the hometown crowd. You don't know. He's not from this country.
Okay. Correct. You don't know what he wants to do, but you also don't know he wants to go home. So for you even to put together some sort of baseless suggestion like that is, I think, kind of foolish.
I didn't say that he did. All I'm saying is you don't know. There's more.
I don't know how long Vladimir Guerrero wants to play baseball. Maybe he wants to hang up the cleats tomorrow. Maybe he wants to kick back and enjoy the sun. He's made so much money. He doesn't need to worry about playing. You see what I mean? There's no base for the reason for me to bring that up. That's what I'm trying to hit.
There's a professional league in Japan, which he played in previously for many years.
He makes a fraction of the money that he makes here in Japan.
like I said, maybe in 5 years, 5, 6 years, he says, you know what? I want to go back home and finish my career there. You don't know. You
Oh, yeah.
don't know.
Okay.
I'm just
All I
saying
can think of is the last Japanese player of his stature was Ichiro. That son of a gun played until he was 38, 39 here. And then he played in Japan because he was so freaking good that he could be playing at 39, 40 years
he
old in Japan.
started
And that could be
he's
the same thing.
he started in Japan, played here, then went back to play in Japan. Same thing with Hideki Matsui. Same exact thing. Those guys, like everybody, right? At the end, they want to play in their hometown or whatever. It's very, very and family is really, really important to the Japanese people. I just think you're underselling that.
Hideki
Because
Matsui played in the MLB till 38 years old as well.
okay.
Ichiro played until he's 39, so he's not rolling up and headed home at 32, Grump, or
I didn't say
33.
32. I
He's
said
gonna be
5,
playing
6 years.
as long as he probably humanly can in the MLB, and at that point, when things start to tail down, he'll go to Japan and be a hero, and he'll be one of the best players on the diamond there too, because he's that special. He's one of the best player in the MLB. You don't have to worry about him flying back home anytime soon.
I'm just saying, you watch. The haul is going to be more for Soto than it is going to be for Ohtani, because Soto is younger and he's going to be playing a lot longer than Shohei Ohtani. Those are just facts.
Gonna be playing. Jesus, man, you have no idea how long the guys are gonna play. And I'm telling you this again: what you get from Shoei Otani is much more than what you get from Juan Soto. That's simple. There's no arguing on that on our sides. I don't believe.
You get as a pitcher. That's right. He's a pitcher too. But
Soto
to me,
offers way more than Juan Soto can offer. He offers more than any other player in the MLB can offer.
Soto's a better hitter than Ohtani. But like I said, Ohtani can pitch and extremely well.
I was about to say he pitches at the quality of a solid number one in the rotation, and also hits like he's a number 3 or 4 in the lineup. So yeah, you're gonna he goes to
I'm not saying that he's a better overall player because he pitches. He's a unicorn.
Okay.
But that said, Soto's a better hitter. Okay? He just is. Nothing wrong with that. Ohtani's really good too. He has power numbers, knocks and runs, but Soto's a better all-around hitter.
I think we've gotten off track. I don't know how we've even gotten to this point. Let's talk about destinations and landing spots for these two individuals. Ohtani we'll introduce here a little bit later. There have been some developments on Juan Soto, right? Apparently Juan Soto, the big bidders were maybe the Mets, the Yankees, and now we're seeing that at least they project the leader to acquire Juan Soto is going to be the St. Louis Cardinals, Grump.
They have a lot of young players who are ready to play in the majors, and they don't have enough spots on the field for him. That's a nice landing spot for him. And St. Louis is a baseball town. It is. So, I mean, I think that's a good landing spot for him. I look at the Yankees and the Mets, they've made inquiries, but the Nationals want 3 prospects and the Mets and the Yankees only want to give up 2. I think that's just short-sighted and dumb on both of their parts, to be honest with you, because, at the end of the day, a prospect's a prospect until he's actually a player in the league.
You know what? I remember when the Toronto Blue Jays thought the same exact thing. Prospects are just prospects until they go ahead and perform on the field. I remember when they went ahead and traded Noah Syndergaard as a prospect who at that time period was ranked around 30 or 40 in high A ball, and they traded away also Travis d'Arnaud to the New York Mets for R.A. Dickey because he'd just come off of Cy Young. How'd that work out? It's not always as simple as that. Depends on the players you give up. Depends on the projectability of those type of guys. I just thought it was a little bit different, right? When you look at the landing spot, everybody was penciling, oh, he's going to go to a big, because they're going to have to pony up, right? When you think of how much money it's going to have to be given up and to sign him to this huge extension, he turned down 15 years, $450 million from the Washington Nationals. Apparently, again, all hearsay, but he's looking for more than a $500 million contract for that type of term.
Well, you know what? He's a generational talent, and he's 24 years old. He's 24 years old.
Generational talent.
Yes,
Here we are on this shit again. Generational talent.
We've already had this discussion.
I know. I don't want to go back down this avenue. It just feels like Thursday we spoke about this garbage. Generational talent. Okay.
No,
I'll just laugh off.
He's a generational talent. Absolutely is. He's probably the best pure hitter in the game right now. He
Holy
can do it
shit.
all.
Okay.
You'll see. Wait till he goes to a
Man,
team where he has even a smattering of protection in the lineup, because he doesn't have that in
He
Washington.
does have Josh Bell that helps out a little bit. Josh Bell is going to be on the move too. When you look at the St. Louis Cardinals, and again, I'm not going to pretend like I'm some sort of MLB prospect aficionado of the St. Louis Cardinals, but just after a quick little search, you're looking at a guy like Jordan Walker, who's a top 10 prospect for the organization. Matthew Liberatore, who's a left-handed pitcher. I don't know, Grump. Their prospect pool might not be as deep as you think.
They're loaded. They have guys who are
82.
They have guys who are playing on their major league roster like 22, 23 years old. They're loaded. They're loaded. They're loaded. Their farm system is producing position players. Nolan Gorman, rookie second baseman. Juan Yepes, first baseman, outfielder. You still got Tyler O'Neill. You have so many guys. They have the pieces to get him. They do. And they're not afraid to spend money. I'm kind of disappointed in the Yankees and the Mets, to be honest with you. The Mets in particular.
Why?
They're keeping on. They're picking up these little trash objects. They say, well, they're kicking the tires on Trey Mancini. Okay. Why would you not trade for Juan Soto? Trey Mancini is an okay player for a bad team. Juan Soto, generational. You're afraid about giving up some prospects?
Oh, my!
I just want to go back. You know, you mentioned R.A. Dickey for Syndergaard and Darno. Syndergaard was good for what? 2 years?
Syndergaard was fantastic for
2 years.
3.
Okay. Did he ever win anything?
And Travis d'Arnaud is a guy who's a consistent guy, a consistent catcher in the MLB.
Yeah, he's an average.
R.A. Dickey was 36 years old when they traded him away.
Well, they thought it was a guy who could get him over the hump.
Okay. See what I mean, though? You talk about,
Juan Soto's 24. He's not 36. He's 24.
And you're going to give up 3+ prospects with current players in the MLB as well, and you're going to have to sign him to a $500 million contract.
It's not what Washington wants. They want prospects. They don't want Major League Baseball ready guys. They want prospects.
For St. Louis, they're going to be players that are in the MLB currently, I assume, right?
Yeah, and they're prospects still.
They're up there in the league right now.
They're rookies. I'm talking about the Yankees and the Mets. They don't want to give them 3 prospects. That's just dumb. It's just dumb. This kid's probably going to be playing longer than any of those other prospects they'd have to give up. He's 24, and he's already a stud in the major leagues. These guys are playing in the minors. I'm sorry. You don't let – and here's the thing. Both teams have a legitimate shot to win a World Series. That's what it's all about. It's not about having the best prospect pool. It's about winning World Series. And if you're a team that both teams are in first place right now as we speak, that guy puts him over the top, in my opinion.
Well, I wonder where his destination will be, because again, you see how quickly things turn and shift. I just, when I heard St. Louis originally, I thought, wow, that's not a spot I thought a destination for a guy like that would be. St. Louis doesn't strike me as a market or a team that's willing to pay a guy $500 million contract. That's not, when I just think of it up front, that's not something I believe, right? Because they've tried, right, putting forward their best foot, right? They got Nolan Arenado, they gave him a huge contract, and you just wonder about the longevity and success when you start loading these bloated contracts for a team like that. They don't. St. Louis is not in a huge market. It's a baseball town. Don't get me wrong, but it's not a huge market.
They're not afraid to make moves. They're always trying to put a good team out there on the field. And again, he's 24. He's 24. He's not in his 30s. He's 24. I don't think you do. I don't think you fully grasp it. That's what makes him special. No one comes on the market at this age and is that good ever.
Think about the production from individuals that the Cardinals have had this year, right? Paul Goldschmidt. He's not an MVP caliber season this year for them. They're about a 500 ball club.
Yeah. They've had a lot of injuries. They've had a lot of injuries this year to the pitching staff as well.
Okay. So
This is
so
this is a move.
resolution for them is add a bat. Okay.
This is a move not just for this year, it's for years, a decade forward. He's the marquee player on your team. And it makes Goldschmidt and Arenado better having this kid in the lineup.
Goldschmidt is at the tail end of his career. What is he, 36 years old? This production you're seeing from Goldschmidt is not something I believe is sustainable.
Okay.
Do you think that Paul Goldschmidt's going to continue on the tear that he's on this year, next year?
He's still going to be really productive. I bet that.
He's a guy who always hit for good average. He's a guy who always walked a lot. But okay, he's 34 years old. He'll be 35 towards the tail end of this year. But I mean, this is a guy where the power numbers have been here the last 2 years. His first few years for Arizona, his second, or I guess like he still had good power numbers, but I'm not expecting a guy to be hitting 330 with 35, 40 home runs for the next few years.
Okay. So your point. So if he does it for 2 more years, you know what? You're getting this kid in the prime of it. He's not even in the prime of his career yet. He's getting better. Like I said, you know what I say about guys who want to hold on to their prospect? They're freaking losers. They never win anything. Eventually, you know what? Come off the hip, get yourself real players, major league players for prospects, because most prospects, the vast majority, do not pan out. Certainly not at this kid's level.
Oh, good gracious. So, okay, Juan Soto, we'll be seeing where he's landing. He looks, out of the big name guys, he is almost penciled in, I feel like, to be traded away at this year's trade deadline. I don't see them holding on to him for another year.
No, absolutely not. When you won't even charter him a flight home from the All-Star game.
We did not talk about that. Yes, talk a little bit about that. They had the home run derby and the All-Star game. They were out there in LA.
Which he won, by the way. Thanks.
Yeah, he won that home run derby. That's correct. So the Washington Nationals, usually help with transportation for these players and for their guys. They're representing their team.
Not just Washington. Every team charters flights for their players from the All-Star game. They didn't do it for him. He had to fly commercial. Here's the thing.
Well, no, he flew. He didn't fly first class either. He flew. Give a little bit more information on. He flew coach. Yeah. He didn't. You're right. They didn't charter him a plane. He had to fly with the everyday average Joe like myself and a grumpy old man back in coach as he just won the home run derby in L.A.
He didn't say anything about it.
Yeah,
his agent was pissed.
As an agent, that's right.
And here's the thing.
I'm sure he was pissed too, but
you know what that means? He was pissed too.
I was going to say, he's pissed, but it's a lot easier to say, hey, agent, come out and just trash the living shit. Because most everyday person says, what a cheap freaking organization like the Washington Nationals won't even fly their freaking player back from after they wins the home run derby.
It gets better. And then they try to do damage control because, it makes Washington look really, really bad.
Jesus
they said,
Christ.
Well, we tried to get him to charter back, see if Atlanta could take him on a flight, to charter him back because, they were playing in Atlanta the next day and Atlanta said they didn't have any room on their plane. So then you just said, screw it, go down to the ticket booth and get yourself a flight. I mean, yikes.
Give your agent a call, buddy. Give your agent a call and get him to sort everything out. What a sad, you talk about a bad optics for the Washington Nationals. Holy crap.
He turned you down for the contract and you say, I'm going to stamp my feet, find your own way home.
I'm going to cry in the grocery store because I can't get the candy that I wanted to put in our cart. So I'm going to throw a tantrum. I cannot believe that shit. If I'm ever competing with anybody, or if I'm ever competing with the Washington Nationals for an unrestricted free agent there in the MLB, I'm just pointing right to this. Yeah, this is a team and an organization where things run sour. They're not even charting you a flight home.
One of the big things I'm hearing also about this trade is they want to include Patrick Corbin in any trade. They want to get rid of his $60 million of guaranteed money on his contract. Good luck.
Good luck is right. You think about the Washington Nationals, man. Again, the fall from grace is hard and fast. Always is for a lot of these teams. You don't go from being a team that wins the World Series, a team that wins the Super Bowl, a team that wins, the tippity top, the peak of it. And you don't go from that and you don't say, oh, yeah, we're still always in the mix. There's always that drop off.
True. True.
So let's talk a little bit about Shohei Ohtani. Did you happen to see possible destinations for a guy like Shohei Ohtani? I did find this little clip as interesting. Give me 1 second as I pull this up, because this is just like you had mentioned a few hours ago. They'd said maybe Shohei Ohtani's on the move. So this is very, very relatively new. And this is going to be a story I cannot wait to talk more about on Thursday.
Give me something bold, something big. What's going to happen? What should we be looking for?
Shohei Ohtani on the move at the trade deadline.
What?
Hear me out. Hear me out. Payroll flexibility with Rendon, Trout, and Ohtani. I don't know Angels going forward. They can handle that kind of money. So what I'm suggesting is, how about a trade with the Atlanta Braves? The Braves power-packed minor league system. They could get some pitching prospects back in return. Charlie Morton has struggled. Ian Anderson hasn't quite been as good as he was last year. Put Ohtani in that rotation behind Max Fried and Strider. Look out. I know it's a big ask, but you heard it here first. Ohtani to the Braves.
You should get a whole team for him, a minor league team. Trade you the Mississippi Braves for Ohtani.
Mr. Anthopoulos, are you listening?
So possibly the Atlanta Braves being thrown out there as one of those teams. Grump, who do you think Shohei Ohtani fits in well with?
I tell you what, I think he fits in anywhere, honestly, anywhere, because they have the universal DH. You know, he's certainly a more than serviceable outfielder. I mean, he can play first base. He fits in anywhere. I mean, if he was a little bit more lively, I mean, the kid would be a matinee idol.
Well, okay. What you mean lively? You mean like
he doesn't converse with the American media.
Well, a lot of baseball players don't today.
Okay. If
Well,
he did,
obviously it hurts him he doesn't speak English, right? That
Right.
doesn't, it's tough to convey, like, you know, it's like, okay, you got to go speak to gotta have the translator speak to you, you speak to the translator. And like for most people, you're right, it doesn't resonate well with them. But I mean, he's an unbelievable talent. He's a special guy too. He is just unreal.
yeah, no doubt about it. Now, who would win a deal? Let's say he gets traded to Atlanta for some prospects. Who wins that deal?
Depends on what they have to give up. Apparently, the asking price is players, just like you had said, players that are playing currently, prospects in addition.
Okay. Who
They
wins that
want a
deal?
lot. It depends on what the asking price is. It depends on
The
what they have.
Braves win that deal. Unless they're moving Ronald Acuna, the Braves win the deal. They get the best player in the deal. That's who wins the deal.
You can't jump and say who wins the deal before the deal is even done.
Okay. They say minor league pitching prospects. Okay. Good luck.
I'm going to tell you this. Shohei Ohtani's a special, special guy. And I will tell you one thing. What I think hurts him is the fact that he plays for LA. I think that also hurts Mike Trout. If LA was good and they were winning games, I think that would help propel the sport. We talk about how the sport is hurt. Like a guy like Mike Trout, he's got, the big old smile. He's got that, he seems like a cowboy hat type of wearing guy. I think he's had like a few pictures in with the cowboy hat with a big smile on. But it hurts that they play for LA, a team that has just been underwhelming year after year after year. They have the talent, but never able to string together wins. If guys like Ohtani or Trout played in a big market on a successful team, you would see the marketability of those guys skyrocket. I even think about what it was. I mean, man, I remember growing up, even when Kazu Matsui came to the Mets, like the marketability for a guy like that, because he was just so fantastic out there and committed a few errors. But I mean, like he was good throughout, and so was Hideki Matsui. Fantastic players. I remember they're both there battling it out there for the Yankees and the Mets around the same time period. If these fantastic talents were to play in a big market, I think you see baseball intrigue pick up as well.
Okay. Hideki Matsui was probably 5 times the ball player that Kaz Matsui
was.
Kaz Matsui was a bust for the most part as a signing. He was an average player at best. They tried to hype it up in New York, Matsui versus Matsui.
Exactly.
And you being a Mets fan, loved Kaz Matsui, but let's be honest, he was a flash in the pan. He was not very good. Go ahead, pull up his little stats. You'll see.
Kazumatsu. You keep calling him Kazmatsui. It's Kazumatsui, Grumpy.
Yeah, whatever. So, like I said, it's a New York thing. And you're saying how, if they played in a big market, Los Angeles is the second biggest market in the country. He just happens to play for the wrong Los Angeles team. I mean, that's just the way it is.
That's correct. He plays for.
So it's not like he's not in a big market.
Marketability of baseball. When you have players that are the star key best players in the league that are the top tier talent playing for bad teams, it hurts the marketability of the sport and of those players. The same thing with Juan Soto, right? He's a really good ball player, but he plays for a miserable Nationals team. It's like Bryce Harper. He plays for that miserable Phillies team. It hurts the marketability of the sport. It hurts the marketability of them as well.
I don't know. I mean, Bryce Harper's a big name. I don't know what you're talking about with him. Who was the other guy you mentioned?
I'm saying Juan Soto. When you have really fantastic play, if Bryce Harper played in freaking New York, or he played on a team that was consistently winning over and over, if he was playing in Houston or he was playing for the Dodgers, you wouldn't stop hearing his name. The team is bad he plays for. He's been injured too, but the team he plays for is bad. I'm talking about the marketability of the sport. When you have star marquee players playing on shitty teams, it does not help grow the sport.
Okay.
Do you disagree with me?
I think it's Major League Baseball and the way they run the operation is why they're not growing the sport. I don't think it has anything to do with the players. Absolutely nothing to do with the players. It's Major League Baseball and how they run the sport. They don't make it accessible to families anymore. They don't make it accessible to younger children to watch a game because all the games are night games. They all start 8 o'clock at night or whatever, 7 o'clock. I mean, it is what it is. And, the fact that it's a slower paced game, kids' attention spans probably aren't enough. They, play video games and stuff like that. So, they're not going to sit there and watch a ball game that goes 3.5, 4 hours every night. Just not. I
like the video games now catching a little bit of the slack, Grumpy.
Well, that's the truth though.
But the Angels, and again, this is by Ken Rosenthal. The Angels are reluctant to move Shohei Ohtani. So again, it's not like they're actively shopping him, but they kind of see the writing on the wall. They're not dumb, right? They see that the team has not been successful year after year. They need some sort of change. They need something different. They need to retool, restructure. But I think you're right. If you're trading Shohei Ohtani, you should also move Mike Trout.
Yeah, the Ohtani thing, I just don't get it. I just don't get it at all. I don't understand it. It's like, all right, well, they have the Anthony Rendon contract. Well, that was a dumb signing.
Yep.
I mean, from Washington, he's making how much? $26 million a year?
He was injured last year, too. He's injured this year. He was injured last year as well, right?
Yeah, but he was never worth that money. I mean, how much money is he making? $26 million a year? I mean, it's a lot of money for him.
He signed a 7-year, $245 million contract. Holy shit, man, that is huge.
So $25 million a year.
He's making. Yeah, well, it's different. It's not like the AAV is as easy. They structure the salaries a little differently. So
long story short, long story short, it averages out to $25 million a year, right?
I'll pull it up for you. Don't worry. I'll pull it up for you.
245 divided by 7 is 25.
I will just show you what I'm seeing here, Grumpy. When we look up Anthony Rendon, base salary $25.5 million in 2020, $27.5 million in 2021, $36 million this year, $38 million next year, $38. That's much more than 25.
All I want to know is his grand total. All I want to know is his grand total by the years, divided out by the years. That's all I want to know, because then you're going to see why Juan Soto is going to make way more money than that.
Average salary, $35 million a year.
$35 million a year. Okay, $35 million. And you think that
25? I'm like, the math is not adding up. I'm looking at the numbers right now, bro.
Okay, that's fine. So $35 million a year. Okay, and you're saying that Juan Soto is not going to get. He's going to get well north of that, and he should. When you see
You
a guy
look
like
at that
Anthony
contract.
Rendon,
Go ahead.
when you see a guy like Anthony Rendon getting $35 million a year, Shohei Ohtani says, why the hell would I sign here for 30 a year? It's just dumb. I wouldn't do it either. I'd laugh at them. Now you know why he's
Anthony
looking.
Rendon, before he signed with the Angels, had three really solid years with the Nationals. Every single one of the 3 years before he became an unrestricted free agent, he hit over 300 each one of those years. And the last year before he left, he hit 34 homers, had 126 RBIs, and 117 runs. The guy had over 20 home runs and hit over 300 each one of those 3 years before he left. And of course, a big year right before his contract expires is what launched into that unreal deal. Anthony Rendon also had the pedigree too. That was a guy who was an early pick. I think he came from Rice College. Ooh, I'm going back. It was Rice College, I believe. And he was a high pick. I think he was one of those top 10 type of guys, and he'd always been solid for the Nationals. And the last 3 years before he left, I mean, he was really solid for the Nationals year after year after year.
But you have to admit he's not the player Juan Soto is.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I would say probably not.
That's why you're not going to see Juan Soto take $30 million a year. You look at the other guys around the league, what they get paid, and that's how you do it. I don't care. Hey, you're paying this guy this. I'm going to get what? No. Doesn't work that way.
Oof, my goodness. Daniel Vogelbach to the Mets.
Well, that's what I mean, right? It's like, why? You're looking at Vogelbach and you're looking at Mancini. You know what? How about going after a big fish? How about that? I just think the Mets are being short-sighted. I think they have a chance. And here's the thing, Cohen's not afraid to spend money. Means nothing to him. He's a billionaire. Means nothing to him. They should be all in for
He already
Soto.
got traded. Vogelbach already got traded to the Mets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my God. He is one. Oof,
He's fat.
Is one ugly.
He's fat.
I was about to say,
He
he's an ugly son of a bitch. He's big. He is slovenly. You know, he's one of those type of guys that reminds me of like the body type of a Pablo Sandoval. Where I'm like, dude, if you cared about your physique, you could be a much better ball player.
There's a lot of guys in the league. There's a lot of guys in the league who look like him.
Let me lower this. But I mean, just look at him trotting around the bed. My God, Jesus H. There are a lot of guys like that though in the league, to where you think if you really took it serious and it was more of a priority, where you even cared about the nutrition side of things, you'd be a much better ball player.
He's a catcher. He's a first baseman. He's a designated hitter. I mean,
he's not necessarily a guy that moves the needle, in my opinion, for the Mets.
No, he doesn't, and neither does Trey Mancini if they acquire him. He's slightly.
Mancini's better than Vogelbach, no?
Oh, I do. But I just think that he's just like a slightly above average player who plays on a really bad team.
This year he's hitting 228 with freaking 12 homers.
Yeah, well, maybe they figured change.
We needed that.
No, that's what I'm saying. The Mets are making these little ancillary moves that don't move the needle at all. They should be all in for Soto. Forget these guys. Soto in New York with the Hispanic community there. It's just a marketing thing waiting to happen. And like I said, I hate to say typical Mets, but man, that's typical Mets.
And
the Yankees, the same thing. I mean, Aaron Judge, how old is he? 32? Bye-bye. See you later. I'm not paying you what you probably are going to get. I'd rather have Soto. And I'm not putting down, once again, I'm not putting Aaron Judge as a player down. Soto is 8 years younger than Aaron Judge. It makes a difference.
I think Josh Bell is, like, you talk about the big bats. He's one of the better bats that's playing well this year. I know the Mets apparently are interested in Josh Bell as well.
They just got what the hell is his name? Vogelbach? Yeah, whatever. How many of those guys can you have on your team?
That son of a bitch doesn't hit. I mean, okay, here's the thing, though. This was 10 hours ago, so after the trade. Sources tell me that the Mets are one of several teams that have presented a trade offer to the Nationals for Josh Bell. I think a guy like Josh Bell. I don't understand the Vogelback trade. I told you that already. It made no freaking sense. Just a depth piece, really. Is that what we're going for the Mets? Is that the big splash we need? No. A guy like Josh Bell, if he's traded within division, right? That's the big if. Are the Nationals willing to trade within division to a team like the Mets? And number two, he doesn't have to relearn any pitchers, and he is having a fantastic season this year. Josh Bell is,
because he's hitting behind Juan Soto.
okay, he's going to hit right next to Pete Alonso. So what's your point?
What I'm saying is he's getting all the juicy pitches because Soto's getting walked. They're going to pitch to Josh Bell. They're not going to pitch to Juan Soto. You can pitch to Pete Alonso. Absolutely, you can pitch to him.
Oh, stop.
It's a human strikeout, that kid.
Oh,
He
man.
hits home runs, but he strikes out a lot.
He's, again, right in conversation for the MVP trophy this year. I think it's going to be tough for anybody to catch Paul Goldschmidt in the National League unless he really falls off.
Josh
the
Bell?
field. What? No, I'm talking about Pete Alonso. You're talking about Pete Alonso. Oh, he strikes out. He does this. He does that. Pete Alonso is right up there in conversation for an MVP trophy in the NL.
He won't be MVP.
Yeah, I was about to say, unless Paul Goldschmidt falls off the face of the planet and has a hideous second half of the year after the All-Star break, he's winning the NL MVP. I mean, the AL MVP, I think, is the one that we probably have the closest race. I think really it's between Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani, and everybody else is, might I add, having a great season. But those two guys are at just a whole different level this year.
Yeah, Judge has been really, really good this year.
Yeah, so we've got.
I think he had another home run today. I think he had another multiple home run game today.
You're talking about Aaron Judge?
Yes.
He's fantastic, man. He's fantastic.
In a contract year, he's putting up those numbers, isn't he?
Yep. Okay, he's put up numbers even before the contract year, though. But he is putting up the numbers in a contract season.
I'm not putting him down. I'm not putting him down. I'm just saying in a contract year, he's probably having his best year since his rookie year.
But the teams, there are apparently three teams really that are leading the market for a guy like Josh Bell: the Houston Astros, the Brewers, and the Mets. So we shall see. We shall see. Now, Grumpy, who are the Yankees interested in?
Do you want to know which team he fits the best with?
Houston, probably.
Houston, without a doubt.
I think so.
Guaranteed to play first base every day there. Yuri Gurriel has not been great this year. Just hasn't been. Man, that's a he knows the pitches that are coming in. So, that's really a benefit and you're playing Houston.
Yep. Oh, he's got the little the trash can thuds coming his way. Okay. Well, let me ask you this, Grump. Who are the Yanks looking at this year around a trade deadline?
The Yankees, they have inquired about Soto. Smart move. This way, if you lose Judge, Judge said at the All-Star game, he intimated that he's gone after this year. See you later. Like I said, he's 30, 31, but however old he is,
30 years old.
How old?
30.
How many year contract do you think he's going to get as a 30-year-old?
He's probably going to get an 8 or a 9 year contract. Taking him at 38 or 39 years old.
I'm going to bet he gets more years than that. I'm going to bet he gets 10.
Okay. One more year than a 9 year contract. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Sure. So
we're
great.
How
do you think he's going to be producing when he's 38, 39, 40?
He's a big guy that has strength, that could drive the ball. You can always move him to more of a DH spot as his body starts to wear down a little bit from the field.
Big guys break down before smaller guys.
Big bats sometimes last a long, long, long time. Anyway, I mean, let's talk about who the Yankees are interested in, though, because we talked about Aaron Judge.
I think Soto's who they're interested in, but like I said again,
the biggest point of need for the Yankees, is it not, Grump?
I'm sorry. What do you think a starting pitcher is the biggest point of need? Yeah,
that's correct.
I mean, maybe Garcia. You got the Dodgers. The Dodgers, I mean, they're loaded with pitching, but they're always looking for pitching. They believe in my mantra: just when you think you have enough pitching, you need more pitching. Pitching is the most important thing in the game. And I think Luis Castillo of the Cincinnati Reds, I think you're going to see guys move from the Reds. I think Tyler Mahle is going to move from them also. And I think Castillo is going to move as well. And I think the Yankees and the Dodgers will get one of those two each. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, so we got a lot. I know we went through a lot of the MLB trade deadline. Sorry, but let's get to some comments. James F said, "Hey, I'm hearing trade rumors, not or no or Bellows or Bellows for Myers, maybe a number one in Bellows for Myers from the Sharks. What are your
Ugh,
thoughts?"
I'm not trading first round draft picks.
Yeah, I was about to say. I'll be
mean-
honest with you. This year's draft is really deep, but Timo Meyer
We're going to be picking pretty high too.
was that.
We're going to be picking pretty high too. The
If
Islanders.
you're gonna get a guy, Timo Meyer's a hell of a
He is.
player.
He is. I'm not giving up first round draft pick for him.
What is he? He'll be an unrestricted free agent this year, right? So
don't
he's
know.
coming up on a time period where you're gonna have to pay him big time money. Same time as Matt Barzal. Let me pull up what his contract looks like here.
I mean, that's fine though. You just got to get rid of some of the other guys on your roster.
Yeah, this is the last year on his contract, and he's gonna be unrestricted free, or he'll be a restricted free agent. I'm sorry. So he'll have 1 year left of restricted free agency. So it'll be the same exact design and setup as a guy like Matt Barzal.
Well, you trade for him, and you sign him to an extension right away.
Honestly, if it was a first and Kiefer Bellows for Timo Meyer, I actually wouldn't be opposed to that.
Okay. I mean,
Myers
eventually, you're going to actually have to make draft picks that are going to make your team.
Timo Meyer's 25 years old. Remember, the Sharks didn't play a run and gun style. They're not a team. Remember, they played more of the conservative Barry Trotz type of style of hockey. He was at 76 points in 77 games. He's around a point a game type of guy in a more conservative offensive system. I don't mind a guy like Timo Meyer for a first round pick and Kiefer Bellows. I think if you get a guy like Timo Meyer now, as long as you can guarantee that you're able to sign him back, I think you win that trade.
I just don't want to trade any more first round draft picks.
I understand.
Eventually, you need you need drafted players to make your team. You just have to. High end talent does not come from the third, fourth rounds. They just don't. It's top end guys, first rounds.
We got to hear a comment from James F saying, "A nice comeback win for the Yanks."
They won
Says Mets suddenly are hitting like a pre-Kelly Leak bad news Bears team. Oof.
Hey, Juan Soto would solve that problem. Vogelback, silverback gorilla that he is.
Ogleby Grumpy.
Whatever his name is. Ogleby.
No. Okay, I thought you were talking about Ogleby from Bad News Bears. You're talking about Vogelback. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, Vogelback. Vogelback, he looks like a silverback gorilla. He's just so damn big.
He's freaking huge. He needs to get. He honestly reminds me a little bit of Pablo Sandoval's build. I'm like, dude, get your ass into shape.
There's quite a few guys in Major League Baseball. Kyle Schwarber looks like that now too.
Who the hell is the catcher for the Blue Jays? You know which one I'm talking about? The tiny guy,
Alejandro Kirk.
Yes, that's who it is.
There's a lot of players like that. He's really big too. Guerrero.
Kirk. I saw him at the All-Star game. I'm like, what? He's 5'8", 265 pounds.
I tell you what, he's a good hitter. He can hit.
He's hit really well this year. He has. But man, oh man,
Let me ask you a question. With him and Guerrero on the team, do they have to sit on separate sides of the plane?
They've got to really make sure that they're one's in the front, one's in the back, and they're both sitting on the opposite sides of the plane.
Yeah. They're going.
Christ almighty. Yeah. He's just another one of those guys that are just, he's a little stocky. That's how they say it nice, right? Husky. He's a husky guy.
I think about the 1980s. Everybody was reed thin. Everybody was thin. Look, I challenge you. Look at some of the highlights from the 1980s. Just every single baseball player was just thin.
Well, that's Americans as a whole. Didn't have as much of an obesity issue in the 80s that we have now.
I just think it's the way the game's played now.
It's all those additive they're putting in our food, Grump, that's making the people fat. Tony Cheese, not self-controlled. Tony Cheese says, I got to admit, Islanders Never Say Die podcast has been increasing in views. The people are catching on.
Wouldn't that be nice if the people caught on to that podcast?
Maybe then we could go ahead. Oh, that would be awesome, Grump. That'd be awesome. Could you imagine if just one time, we would get somebody that was like a member of the cartel media to sit down? If it grew large enough where we could entice a member of the cartel to sit down.
Trick one of them. Have to trick them.
Hey, this is a brand new show. We're just starting off. Myself and Grumpy are looking to rebrand our image. We're going to be talking all positive about the Islanders, and we want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to sell that one.
We're going to have to be set up like under a different, have to change the name of the podcast, have to change everything from scratch. You wouldn't be called, I'm sure you're already known in the corners of the Islanders community as, oh God, it's the grumpy.
That son of a bitch, an old bastard. What's he saying now? Grumpy old piece of shit.
Great. James F says, Grumpy, did you see MLB Hall of Fame Day? Great speeches today.
I did not, but I'm going to go. I love watching the Hall of Fame speeches. I didn't realize it was on. I got a notification on my phone says David Ortiz and Gil Hodges, and I wanted to see whoever was doing a speech from Gil Hodges because, I mean, long overdue to have Gil Hodges in the Hall of Fame, I'll be honest with you. But I wanted to ask
you a little about this. David Ortiz makes the Hall of Fame. I want to ask your opinion on that.
Should he have made the Hall of Fame?
Correct.
Yeah. Because I don't care that he used steroids. What bothers me is Barry Bonds is in the Hall of Fame, Roger Clemens is in the Hall of Fame, and A-Rod's probably not going to go in the Hall of Fame. And they were all infinitely better than David Ortiz, and they use steroids. I could care less.
Well, that's my point.
Steroids.
David
Ivan
Ortiz
Rodriguez,
DH.
Pudge Rodriguez used steroids in the Hall of Fame. Jeff Bagwell, isn't he in the Hall of Fame?
I believe so. But let me check.
Craig Biggio. These guys were all on steroids. Mike Piazza on steroids. All of them.
Hey, don't you speak bad about Mike Piazza.
Here's the thing. I don't care that they use steroids.
Piazza!
Everybody was using steroids. Everyone.
Piazza! Grumpy, don't you speak bad of Piazza.
That's a TJ move, man. That's a typical one.
Don't you be speaking bad about my boy Mike Piazza. Maybe one day the Islanders Never Say Die podcast could grow so large, Mike Piazza will send us an autographed hat. It would fulfill the childhood dream.
You have an autograph. I think you have an autographed hat from Mike Piazza, just to let you know.
It's different. But anyway, yeah, you look at the numbers for David Ortiz. The power numbers are certainly there. A DH, but you're right. There are guys who I think are much more deserving to make the Hall of Fame that had used steroids just like David Ortiz did, that will not make the Hall of Fame simply because David Ortiz has the relationship with MLB Network, and he's a very likable, very fan-friendly type of guy, and he's consistently in the public eye. So that's, I believe, the reason why the steroids don't bother them. Oh, yeah, David Ortiz on MLB Network. Yeah, let's vote him in.
Very popular.
Barry Bonds uses the steroids. Roger Clemens uses the steroids. A-Rod probably did. And they all infinitely better batters and fielders than David Ortiz.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. He was very, very nice to the sports. Sports writers love him. Sports writers are the ones who vote you into the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
I just, like I said, it shouldn't be a popularity contest. Just all you need to do is look at the numbers, honestly. That's all you need to do. Here's the criteria. Do you meet it? Yes or no?
He never even won an MVP, David Ortiz.
He was good in the playoffs, though. He was really good in the playoffs, particularly when they won World Series, and that counts. I mean, Derek Jeter is in the Hall of Fame, right? Okay. Who's a better player, A-Rod or Derek Jeter?
A-Rod.
And it's not even close. Not even close.
The likability factor goes to Derek Jeter, about 100 times more likable than A-Rod was.
I don't even know he was likable, but he kept his nose clean, and he was Mr. Yankee. I mean, he never got into trouble, ever. I mean, ever. But A-Rod was a better player. A-Rod was a better player.
I'm looking at the times that he led. There were 5 different years A-Rod led the MLB in home runs. 2 different years he led the MLB in RBIs. And 5 different years he led the MLB in runs. And you just think to yourself, I'm like, oh, this is a guy who's not in the Hall of Fame because he used steroids when everybody else at that time period was doing the same thing. He had years where he led the MLB in hits, batting average. The guy was just unfreaking believably talented.
It wasn't until he moved to, I think, Texas. But look at his numbers with Seattle. They were phenomenal.
Yeah.
They were phenomenal.
Yes, absolutely.
I
Again,
it's like
Seattle, he led when he was with Seattle, he had a year where he led the league in runs, doubles, and batting average. Another year where he led the league in hits. I mean, the guy, even in Seattle, before really under the age of 24 years old, right? You talk about an unreal player. The power numbers were there 2 years where he was hitting 310 and having 40 plus homers, 40 plus stolen bases.
yeah. I mean, same thing with Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds was a great player before he took steroids. Roger Clemens, a great player before he took steroids. And again, I could care less that they took steroids because everyone was doing it. Everyone was doing it.
And no, we're not openly saying supporting the use of steroids.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
But here's the thing. I think it's weird to hold it. We're looking back through a revisionary lens, and you've got a situation where David Ortiz, proven to use steroids, just like guys like Roger Clemens, A-Rod, and all these other items. But certain players make it in and certain players do not. I'd say Manny Ramirez is a better player than David Ortiz.
Yes, I agree.
And I mean, like, I remember the one time it happened. Oh, I think it was like he was using some lady something special, like some lady steroid. I don't know, some steroid. I remember I was in high school. He had got caught using a different type of steroid that was used most commonly in some sort of like female body, but I don't even know. But he was something with like, oh man, I got to look that up.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, for me, I don't care if they use steroids because everyone was doing it. It was just a steroid era, period. You can't just say, oh, well, this guy gets in, this one doesn't. They were all doing it. They were all doing it.
He used HCG, human chronic. Oh my God, I can't pronounce that word. It's a woman's fertility drug.
So maybe he wanted to get knocked up.
Help steroid users restart testosterone production. So he was using that, and that's I couldn't remember what it was. He was using the women's fertility drug that helped put extra muscle mass on and help. Every single player was doing something like that during that time period. And to say that we're only going to hold some people accountable based off of how likable they were by the press, and some people not accountable, I think is disgusting. It's gross. It's just like those people are they're sanctimonious assholes. Those writers like that. Oh, hold them all at the same standard.
I mean, to me, the thing that hurts A-Rod is he vehemently denied it. I think A-Rod's biggest issue, okay, I'm going to play amateur psychologist because, I can do that. He'd never had a father figure in his life.
I knew you were about to go there.
It's the truth. And he just wanted to be liked. He wanted people to like him. Derek Jeter, I don't think he cared if anyone liked him, but he wanted to be liked. And I think that hurt him. I thought, when he denied doing the steroids, I think it was because he just didn't want anyone to not like him. And like I said, to me, he's a first ballot guy. I know he's not going to get in, but he should. Honestly, he should. Same thing with Clemens and Bonds. Come on, it's ridiculous.
Look at Ryan Braun's numbers. Ryan Braun was a better hitter and played the field over a guy like David Ortiz. Ryan Braun sure as hell not making the Hall of Fame.
Well, Ryan Braun also with the steroids, right? It got wiped off his record. That's
why he's not making the Hall of Fame.
It got wiped off his record because of something. The same thing with David Ortiz. They wiped it off. They wiped it off his record. No, it didn't have nothing to see here.
He played in Milwaukee too. Wasn't like he was just lofting him over the green giant. I mean, think about those numbers too. When you're playing in Boston, you're just lofting those.
But he was a left-handed batter. He pulled most of it.
Even if you push it the other way, even when you're hitting to the short end and to the short end of their right field, what is it, Grumpy? 295
286.
286. Okay, that's my point.
In fairness, you got to pull that thing. They call it the pesky pole. You have to pull that right down the line because it's 286, and then it really goes out from there. But I mean, I remember Lenny Dykstra hitting a home run in the World Series in Boston, right there, right down that line. It was beautiful. But you know what? Congrats to David Ortiz. He put up.
I think he should be in, just like I think other players should be in. It's not that I'm saying David Ortiz should not be in. I'm just saying that there are players that are more deserving than David Ortiz to make the Hall of Fame that also use steroids and will not because they're not as friendly with the press and aren't on MLB Network.
True.
Simple. True. We got here. Wickerman says, nice shirt, TJ. Thank you, Wickerman. Frank says, hi, TJ, grumpy old man. Hi, everybody. What's up, Frank? James F. saying, TJ, can you look up Mini Mimosa's stats?
It's Mini Mimosa.
Mini Minosa
Yes. He
with the M.
played for the White Sox and the Twins. He played a lot of years for a lot of teams. Minnie Minosa, shortstop, outfielder, really good bunter. I don't know if he get in the Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame. Yep.
Okay.
Maybe I think he was just put in, I believe.
See, I mean, to me, I don't know if he's truly a Hall of Fame talent. I remember him playing. It was at the tail end. I remember watching him, but he's, I mean, I don't know. What were his numbers? Do you have them?
He hit, yeah. So he hit for a career. My God, he played. Think about this really quickly before we go into the numbers. He retired in 1964, then came back to play 3 games in 1976. So he retired he was retired for 7 years. On his 8th year of retirement, he said, I'm going to come back for a year. He retired then again in 1976, came back in 1980 to play 2 games. Like,
so he could play in all those decades. I think he came back. I think he came in the 76. I think he came back to the A's, didn't he?
He came back. No, Chicago.
Okay. I thought Chicago was in 1980.
He played at 52 in Chicago, and then he played at 56 in Chicago.
Yeah.
Unreal. His career batting average was 299, so just shy of a 300 batting average on a career. He had 216 stolen bases, 195 homers, 1,086 or 89 RBIs, and he had 1,227 runs. The numbers are good, but players more deserving, perhaps.
Of course, it was a different era.
Exactly.
Okay.
You weren't hitting from as much power. I understand.
But I never thought, he's a Hall of Famer. I just never did. But you know what? Congrats. I'm sure he's dead now, unfortunately. But congrats to his family. He's got to be dead. He absolutely has to be dead. If he played in 1980.
He died. He died in March 1st of 2015. Why does it take him
you know what? Get him in. What are you going to wait till a guy dies? Put him in. What? I mean, you know how spiteful that is.
I believe that's what they're going to do with Barry Bonds.
And Pete Rose. And Pete Rose. You watch.
Pete Rose, yes. Pete Rose is going to he'll die sooner than Barry Bonds will, just because of his age. But I firmly believe Pete Rose could be dead maybe for about 3 or 4 years, and then they're going to finally put him in the Hall of Fame. And that son of a gun should have been in the Hall of Fame all along.
The hits leader, the all-time hits leader. I don't care that he gambled on baseball.
He bet on his team to win.
When he was it doesn't matter. You're not allowed. I know you're not allowed to gamble, but I don't care that he gambled as a manager because he was not getting into the Hall of Fame as a manager. I'm sorry, but he's another guy who had an out. But some of these guys, their greatest strengths are their greatest weaknesses. All he had to do was come clean, and I think they would have eventually forgiven him. But it took him forever. And now they want to make an example of him, which just honestly makes the people in Major League Baseball, makes them kind of small.
Rob G said, how about Aaron Judge hits his 37th homer today? Go Islanders.
I realize it's Baltimore, but still.
James F. said, nice speech by Gil Hodges' daughter. Long over 4 for Gil Hodges.
Yeah, I know they're going to show it again. I'm going to make sure that I watch that because I do like watching.
And what's up, Rob G? Hopefully you're doing well. James F. said, great speech on Tony Oliva. Oliva.
There's no I. It's Tony Oliva.
I saw him towards the tail end of his career. Your thoughts on him, Grump?
Absolutely should have been in the Hall of Fame. Was an all-star every single year for the Minnesota Twins. Him and Rod Carew. He batted third. I think Carew batted third. He batted fourth. And Killebrew batted fifth, or maybe it was Killebrew fourth, Oliva fifth. But really, really, really good player year after year. I don't know how many All-Star games he went to, but a lot. It's Oliva, Oliva.
And here, yep, so do the Cardinals. Gil Hodges should have been in the Hall of Fame many years ago, in my opinion, says Rob.
Now, here's the thing. 14 years all playing for the Brooklyn Dodgers. And then had the career with the Mets, won them their World Series from last to first. A lot of people say the reason why he did not get into the Hall of Fame was because in the World Series, he was not real good. He didn't have good numbers in a World Series. Okay. But just look at his numbers year after year after year.
How many players get consistent time in the World Series?
Well, he did because they were in the World Series a lot. The Dodgers losing to the Yankees every year.
Mm.
They did win, I think, 1955. I think was the one year that the Yankees lost to Brooklyn.
I'm James F. said best player is Mike Trout. TJ he had a great year this year. Again, he's been injured. I know the cortisone shot recently. He might be back on Monday. Tony Cheese says, it's not all about the money, TJ. You greasy, greedy, bumbling fool, says Tony Cheese. James S. said, you guys think they should do a remake of The Warriors. And also, it's been more than 40 years since they made that movie, guys.
Okay, I don't think. Could you imagine a remake of The Warriors? First of all, they try to turn it into some type of woke thing, and it would probably be a girl gang that would kick the shit out of all the boy gangs. But gangs are passe. They're dead now for the most part. When I was a kid, they actually had gangs like that.
Tony G says, no more remakes. Have all the movies been made?
No, it's just that the writers are lazy, lack creativity, and the people who want to put out movies, all they want to do is make, not that all they want to do is make money. I mean, that's why you make a movie. You make it to make
That's
money.
exactly what they want to do. All
right? I mean, sure.
Money.
But the whole thing is they won't let creativity live. It has to fit some type of mold that makes money.
Gungun says, TJ, I agree with you what you said yesterday. No more of these dopey superhero films. Give me Goodfellas, The Godfathers, and Caddyshack all day long. Yeah, the superhero movie. Think about superheroes. Superheroes were made so when you were younger, right? I'm talking about going way back. Grumpy, this is when you were young. Superheroes were made for the nerdy guys to be like, oh, if they're getting beat up, they were getting bullied. Oh, yeah, I live in this alternate reality.
Wrong.
Friend, mistress. No, not wrong. Look at all these superheroes. Spider-Man getting bullied. It was all about these people who are bullied. Oh, they're getting bullied. They're getting picked on. I've got my little escape. The superhero, the cartoon is where the escape was. And they've got, I'm sick and tired of these superheroes. I'm done with them. No more superheroes.
Okay.
None. Done with them.
Now, have you ever seen Caddyshack?
I've seen Caddyshack, yes.
Who's in it?
What do you mean, who's in it?
Name one character in Caddyshack.
Oh, my God. No respect. I don't remember the hell his name is. The old guy from Back to School.
The old guy from Back to School.
Not Robert Downey Jr., but the old one. I can't remember his name. Oh, Rodney Dangerfield. Rodney Dangerfield. That's right.
That's
I know
true.
I wasn't playing on anything. I had my hands. I wasn't Google searching it up over there. Rodney Dangerfield. That's who it is.
Can you name the member of Saturday Night Live who was in that commercial?
You gotta give me a hint.
I'm sorry, in Caddyshack.
Give me a hint.
He was in not the first year. He was not a first-year cast member, but he was for the next 4 years.
No. I'm gonna need a first name.
He's been in big movies like Ghostbusters.
Oh, he's the guy. Was he also in Tommy Boy? That's the Callahan guarantee.
No.
Okay,
No.
I don't know. Grumpy.
Bill Murray was in that.
Bill Murray was in the Caddyshack. That's right.
Michael O'Keefe,
Oh.
Ted Knight, Chevy Chase.
Ugh.
Yeah, good movie.
Yeah. Andrew L says, I don't think Soto would resign long-term in St. Louis if they traded for him.
I'm going to bet that he would.
I don't think any team's going to trade for him without knowing ahead of time they're going to resign long-term.
Yeah.
The Wicker Man said, because you talk about a colossal blunder if he doesn't resign long-term. The Wicker Man says the problem with the Cardinals is they might not be able to sign him.
I think he'll sign.
Frank says those Marvel movies were great until the child explorers Disney bought and ruined the franchise. Their wokeness, they ruin everything they touch.
100% true.
The Wicker Man says if the Cardinals prospects are so good, they won't need a Soto.
Here's the thing. They have a bunch of guys, too many guys for their lineup. I am 100% in agreement that they should move those guys for Soto. Soto's probably better than any one of those prospects.
James F. said, Also, the actress that was in the Warriors gang is that she was in the show with Ted Knight. She played her daughter.
Yep. I think it was the Ted Knight show. He died at a very young age. I think actually when that show was on air, the Ted Knight. Now, Ted Knight was also in Mary Tyler Moore. He played Ted Baxter. You ever seen Mary Tyler Moore? Nope.
No,
Let's
I'm not
move
even
on.
bothering listening to you right now because you're speaking Chinese to me. The Wicker Man says that problem with baseball, that's the problem with baseball and why they need a hard cap.
Yeah, but their
Player union never
their
worked.
player union is just way too strong.
James F said, Grumpy, why do the opposite pitchers always throw the ball right over the middle of the player against Judge, right in the middle of the plate against Judge? Why not throw inside on him or away? Judge just hit another bomb.
You gotta hit him. You gotta pound him inside, not away. You don't want him extending those arms.
Mm.
And why they do that? You got me. I mean, you look the pitchers that give him problem are guys who do breaking balls away and pound him inside. Those are the guys who give him problems.
Frank said, I don't want the Islanders to make a trade at all. We always lose in trades. I'd rather keep our guys, watch them get reborn with a new coach and system. I don't think the system's going to be much different than what we saw last year. It's going to be similar, but not too much different, Frank. Wickerman says, grumpy old man, the Mets and the Yankees don't have to trade the prospects because they have more leverage. Only a certain amount of teams, that maybe 5, can actually sign Juan Soto. The Dodgers, Red Sox, Mets, and Yankees. He's going to a big market team. I was about to say, I'm just not sure St. Louis can pony up $500 million and say, here you go, Juan Soto.
I'm going to tell you that they're owned by Budweiser. They got money. Sell a couple more beers. Ready to go.
Sell a couple more beers.
They play in Busch Stadium.
James F says, I think Seattle can use Juan Soto. I think a lot of teams can use Juan Soto. That's for certain. The Wickerman says that baseball has problems with teams outspending the lower market team. It certainly is. You look at the Marlins, you look at teams like Baltimore. It doesn't matter, even if they do a great job drafting year after year after year, when those players start to get good around that arbitration time period, they're just going to be like, I want to go somewhere else. I'm not sticking around here in Baltimore. I'm not sticking around here in Miami. I'm not sticking around at this low mid-market team.
Unfortunately, that is the case a lot of times.
The Wickerman also says, grumpy old man of the Mets or Yankees, are going to pay him. Then they shouldn't give up that much.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. That's what's going to happen. You're going to have to give to get him. They're not just giving him away.
James F said, not only you should make a can he skate shirt, but also move on. T-shirt.
Move on.
Gungun says, gents, the great philosopher George Carlin once said, all you really need is to wash the 4 key areas: armpits, asshole, crotch, and teeth. Do you agree or disagree? I like to wash everything. Sorry.
I disagree. I'm going to say you got to wash your face and your feet for certain.
Yeah.
Maybe you get away. Maybe you can get away with not doing like your biceps.
Frank says he'd rather have Otani. James F said he can fit in well with the Yankees. Have an excuse to get rid of Joey Gallo.
Joey Gallo.
The Wickerman also said that's who wins the deal right now. But if he falls off and the Braves give up the next Babe Ruth, yeah. And I agree with grumpy old man. Kazu Matsui was okay.
Just okay.
Yeah. Okay, he also came over to the U.S. at the age of 30 years old. It wasn't like he came over at the same age. How old was Hideki Matsui when he came over?
27, 28.
Okay. Tony Cheese said, my favorite L.A. Angels player was Mel Clark. The Bat Boy, Roger Baumman, was also pretty cool, too.
Do you know what that's from, TJ?
It's got to be from Angels in the Outfield, I think.
Angels in the Outfield. Ding, ding, ding for TJ.
I took a guess because I'm like the Bat Boy or Baumman. I said
Clark.
Bat Boy. I'm like, I know Angels in the Outfield. That little kid was the Bat Boy.
And then
I literally just took a guess. I was on a hope and a prayer, Grumpy.
And then Christopher Lloyd, who played the Angel, said, "Oh, don't worry about Mel. He's going to be with us pretty soon." He's like, "What do you mean?" You should never smoke. It's never a good idea. So he'd be like dead within 2 years from smoking cigarettes. Don't do it.
Frank said, get rid of Gallo. Absolutely. Drew L said, what's up, guys? My internship finally ended, and I've been singing to Jesus the entire day. The whole experience was miserable. Where'd you intern, Drew? Hopefully, I don't know,
but I think he wants an intern on this show with the comments, I believe.
The Wicker Man says, baseball's biggest problem is the lack of the salary cap. They need a hard cap, high and low. They need to do what hockey does. They just lose too much money. They just would lose too much money, though. Yeah. Andrew L says, I can't believe Nitto has been on this team for as long as he has. Never seen a more abysmal catcher at the plate and an average of defense.
They need a catcher. They got that Alvarez kid, right? Superstar of the future. I don't know. And he might be really good. He might be. He's probably gonna be a serviceable major league catcher. Maybe he will be.
Yeah, Aaron Judge is 30. Josh Bell is good, says the Wicker Man.
He is good.
Frank also said, yeah, Wicker Man agreed on the cap, and I hate how they use the base salary on a premise. Well, the team paid XYZ for a player. Who cares that the team overpaid for a player? Why should I set the dollar amount for the league?
Because that's what the agents say. Hey, Sammy Schmendrick over here is getting paid this. He's way better than that. And they look at their own roster and say, all right, he's on your team. You say this guy is getting Michael Stanton or Giancarlo Stanton is making, how much is he making? I mean, $27 million. I mean, you think you're going to bring him in here and pay this guy below that? You're crazy. That's how it works.
I mean, Scott Boras is he's one of the most shrewd negotiators around. My God, Scott Boras.
He's a slime ball and a sea of pus.
He's getting paid on average $25 million a year. Giancarlo Stanton.
Yeah, but way too much for him. Way too much.
The Mets don't need another first baseman, and the player agents ruin the leagues. Yeah, Frank also says here, man, I'd hate to think the Yankees would lose Aaron Judge for nothing. I was saying trade him and get something. He may not want to go home to a shitty San Francisco. Watch the needle, a human shit everywhere. Everywhere.
That's San Francisco, by the way.
Yeah, watch the needle.
They let him crap in the streets in San Francisco, if you could believe that.
Oh, gosh.
And just not in front of Nancy Pelosi's house.
James F says it was Bo or Bellows for Team O'Meara. Oh no. Yeah, well.
Now, okay, if it's one of those guys for Team O'Meara, that's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot. They're going to have to give up a lot for a guy like that.
But seriously, if that's a deal, if it's Beauvillier or Bell, I would give them Beauvillier and Bellows for Meyer.
Yeah. Goon says, why did the Islanders bite the big one for so long in the 90s when they actually had talented players like Palfi, Luongo, Chara, piss poor coaching and or management of players merely not trying hard?
Money, money, money. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Is it piss poor coaching and or management, or were the players simply not trying hard?
They were cheap. The ownership was cheap. They did not want to spend any money, period.
Yeah.
Luongo, in his rookie year there, had a clause that kicked into his contract if he played 25 games. He got to 24. They sent him down to the minors rather than give him that bonus. I think it was, I don't even know what the bonus was, but it certainly wasn't exorbitant, maybe $100,000. And they're like, nope, not going to happen.
I'm sure that helps with player relations. Yeah, they won't play me the extra few games because they don't want to pay me $100,000.
When your reputation as an organization is that you're cheap, why would players want to even consider you? And I'm going to tell you something else. Looking at the contract that they supposedly offered for Johnny Gaudreau, that reputation is alive and well. They're cheap trying to acquire other players.
The Wickerman says, sorry, you can't put Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame ever. You know why people like Big Papi? I don't understand why he deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame.
He was never even, they never even had a positive test on him. Everyone knew
we all knew he took steroids, but yes, that's correct.
He never had a positive, never tested positive, never did.
I don't care if he tested positive or not. Everybody at that time period, the pitchers and both batters were using it. It wasn't like, oh, only 5 guys in the league were using it, so we can't put those 5 guys in. No, the entire freaking league was using it.
Yep.
Again, not saying we liked the fact they were using it, but everybody was doing it. It's like with blood doping that happens in cycling. Are we going to go ahead and say, oh, we're going to take that away from Lance Armstrong? Everybody was blood doping.
Yeah, I don't care about that. I don't care that Lance Armstrong. That was running rampant in racing. It's always been in racing.
That's what I said.
Always.
It was everybody was doing it, and it's like, oh, let's start throwing the stone in our glass house. I don't know. The Wicker Man, the one guy who did not use steroids and vehemently was against them all the time was Kurt Schilling. He was so openly against any sort of steroid use anytime at all because he did not use them, and he knew everybody else was.
Now
he's not getting in for other reasons.
And that's even more ridiculous. The reasons why he's not
political ideologies,
because of his political leanings, he's not getting in the Hall of Fame. Think about that. In a big game, that's one of the pitchers all time. That's a guy you wanted on the mound. He proved it.
He was a hell of a ball player.
He proved it with the Red Sox, with the Arizona Diamondbacks. I mean, and just because he's a conservative, all right, I'd call him an ultra conservative. He's not getting in.
He's a little right leaning of Attila the Hun. But yes, I know.
But you know what? What does that have to do?
Of course.
What does that have to do with his ability on the baseball field? I'm just kind of baffled by that as well.
Yep, I don't disagree. It's an odd one. And Wickerman says A-Rod was a clown, a constant circus. Same with Clemens. See, okay, Wickerman, I encourage you to look at Roger Clemens. Roger Clemens, he was freaking unreal. You almost have to go back and look at it and say, holy crap, I forgot how fantastic Roger Clemens was as a pitcher. Fantastic in Houston, fantastic for the Yankees. I mean, the guy was
Red Sox
in Boston. Yeah, I was about to say fantastic in Boston. The guy won 7 Cy Youngs. 7. Yeah. He was a 7-time ERA title champion, lowest ERA in the MLB 7 times in his career,
and
triple crown for pitching twice.
And just because that you viewed A-Rod as a clown or a circus, what did that have to do with his ability as a ball player? Absolutely nothing. Look at how many. Ty Cobb, an out-and-out freaking racist, is in the Hall of Fame, right? It's not about what you do off the field. It shouldn't be. It's what you do between the lines on a baseball diamond. That's what it should be about.
Don Mattingly should be in a Hall of Fame just based off his fielding. That's why the Wizard of Oz
if Don Mattingly didn't have the back injury, he was on his way to a Hall of Fame career. TJ, let me tell you something. If we were having these conversations, on the Hall of Famers, you would have said Don Mattingly at that time would have been a Hall of Famer. He had like 5 years in a row where he was just unbelievable in the back injury, and that kind of did him in. If he hadn't had the back injury, he was going to make the Hall of Fame. He was that good.
He wasn't necessarily a power guy. He was more of an average type of guy. But yeah, he swung a good bat. And just looking at the stats,
I remember he hit home runs 7 straight games. 7 straight games he hit a home run.
Okay, he had 222 home runs in 14-year career.
Okay, but look at
power guy.
Look at the 5 years. There's like 5 years at the beginning of his
23
career.
home runs, 35 home runs, 31 home runs, 30 home runs, 18 home runs, 23 home runs. Again, wasn't a power guy, but did a lot more than that. He was winning Gold Gloves left and right. He wasn't a guy known for his power numbers, though. He had 9 Gold Gloves.
Yeah, and how many runs batted in did he have? I mean, he was league MVP. How many times? I think just once. I think just once.
He had 1,099 runs batted in.
Yeah. But I mean, like I said, the back injury is what did him in.
Yeah. I'm not saying that. Mari Production says Barry Bonds is the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time of an MLB player.
No, that's Babe Ruth. Sorry. That's Babe Ruth.
Really?
Babe Ruth was out homering, I think, every team in the major leagues when he hit 60. I think he out-homered every team in the league.
Here's a question for you. Is Andrew Jones a Hall of Famer in your opinion?
No.
I look up his stats again.
No. He's in the Hall of Very Good, though. He was a great fielder. He started off. I remember he hit the year that the Braves lost to the Yankees in '96. He was incredible that World Series, particularly early on.
He might squeak his way in.
He's not getting in.
Okay, he had 10 Gold Gloves. That means something.
It doesn't get you in the Hall of Fame.
When you hang everything up, you hit 434 home runs, 1,289 RBIs, 1,204 runs, and you have 10 Gold Gloves. Okay, the batting average. Okay, I didn't know his batting average hit 254. Okay.
And he played what, 20 some odd years?
17.
17. Okay.
Fantastic fielder. Fantastic. You think Chipper goes in the Hall of Fame?
Chipper's already in the Hall of Fame.
Well, there we go. Okay.
I think Chipper Jones overrated. I do. But I think it's because he played third base. Third base is you don't see whole lot of Hall of Famers at third baseman. You just don't.
The Wicker Man says Jeter was way more clutch than A-Royd. Jeter had more hits by a lot.
Yeah, he had more hits. And
How many more years did he play?
I think basically they played the same amount of years. I don't know. You just look up games. But you look at every other stat, A-Rod dwarfs him in every single way. Derek Jeter was a guy, he had an inside-out swing, bang the ball to right field. That's what he did. He did that his whole career. I mean, I don't even know how many home runs he had. I know he probably had over 100. But,
Give me a second.
I don't think he even had a year when he had 100 RBIs.
Derek Jeter. Let me see this. You're right. He had 1 year where he had more than 100 RBIs. Back in 1999, he was 25 years old. He had 102 RBIs. He finished up his career with 3,465 hits.
A-Rod had over 3,000, didn't he?
3,115 hits.
Yeah. So, 3,000 hits. That should automatically get you in the Hall of Fame. But look at A-Rod's power number. What do he have? He had, 600 home runs? Close to it?
696 home runs.
Almost 700 home runs. Almost 7. And how many RBIs? Over 2,000?
He had 2,086 RBIs.
I mean, come on. And what was his career batting average? 290 something?
295.
Yeah. I mean, come on. What was Jeter's career batting average?
Jeter's career batting average was 310. He had 260 home runs, 1,311 RBIs.
There was no comparison.
Almost about 1,000 RBI or 800 RBI difference between the two.
There is no for whoever said, for Wickerman, who said, Jeter had way more hits. Yeah, well, A-Rod had way more of everything else. What about stolen bases? I bet you that's not even close either. I'll bet at least
remember A-Rod towards the end when he was a little bit portly when he was playing third base. But Derek Jeter had 358 stolen bases in his career. A-Rod 329. That goes in the favor of
to the Jeter column.
The Jeetsker. Yeah, well, here's the thing. In his 30s, A-Rod wasn't stealing any bases, and Derek Jeter was still able to swipe a few bags in his 30s.
I'm not putting
Derek Jeter at 35 had 1 year with 30 stolen bases. Holy shit.
Here's the thing. I'm not putting Derek Jeter down because he was a really, really good ball player. He was never A-Rod. Never.
He never had years ever that he led the league in a lot of different titles.
Anything. I don't think he ever
had 1 year where he led
batting average
MLB in runs. No, he never led the MLB in batting average. He had 1 year where he led the MLB in runs and 2 years where he led the MLB in hits. And that's it.
That's it. I mean, I'll tell you what, before he got hurt, Nomar Garciaparra was a better offensive player.
Nomar. That's right. Nomar.
I have an autographed ball with those three guys, Nomar, A-Rod, and Derek Jeter all signed it.
Nomar Garciaparra.
He was really good.
He had that big old nose too, Nomar.
He was he was on the juice.
He was skinny though, wasn't he?
Yeah, but you could tell. You could tell. Later
you could tell though, he says. Okay. Frank says when Bonds had a way smaller head, aka pre-roids, he was still hitting like 30 home runs. He didn't need the steroids. And Jeter was amazing, he says. Wickerman says Bonds is the reason why they started testing. Then his trainer didn't testify and went to jail. I'm sorry, you can't put him in. Alonzo 3-run home run, says Andrew L. The Wicker Man says the league turned a blind eye to steroids.
I'm going to tell you what, not only did they turn a blind eye,
covered up.
they absolutely did. Because you want to know what? It made baseball relevant again.
As about to say the huge this summer. What was the summer when McGuire and Sosa were battling it out for 70-something homers?
I think it was 1998. Was it 1998?
Give me a sec. 1998.
Oh,
that was the year that put. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Crumpy. That was the year that started to put baseball back on the freaking map. That year, right there.
And you know what? Mark McGuire's to blame because he had androzine, which you could get over the counter, right in plain view for a reporter to look at. One of those slimy bastard reporters to look at. No one cared. And I'll tell you what, today people don't care. Look at players are still Dominican players in particular are still getting popped for performance enhancing drugs. They're all still, look at the size of these guys. They're all on something. Please look at the 80s. Look at you got to remember 162 games. Those, you're not bodybuilding and lifting all the time. You can't and play games. You can't do it. So look at what they look like in the 80s and look what they look like now. They're all like damn bodybuilders, all of them.
Well, Grumpy, we're about to run through some of these comments at lightning quick speed because we do.
You want me to read them then?
What?
You want me to read them then? You want to go through?
I'll let you read these comments, Grump, because I want to get to talking about the Tennessee Volunteers, about the accusations. So we're going to get into that. I want to talk. There was a little funny joke. You happened to speak about how big Vogelbag was, or Vogelball was.
His name's going to be Silverback.
Big boy. We're going to talk about the hefty lefty over there. We're going to talk about him. There's another individual who happened to make a little bit of a funny joke, Grumpy. So, hey, let's get to reading some of these. I'll let you read these comments in a quick way.
Okay. Wickerman says, yeah, man, he used a fertility pill. That's what people do.
Grumpy, look at what's on the screen.
Oh, sorry.
What are you doing?
As a Yankees fan, I like the Mets, especially Alonso. Okay. Yeah, man, he used a fertility drug, but that's what people used to do to cover the real drug, I think. Maybe he just wanted to get knocked up.
That's exactly what it was now, Wickerman. Thank you for reminding. He was using that to try to mask the steroids that he was using. That's right.
I just think he wanted to get knocked up. Bonds, a.k.a. the cream or the clear. True. Empire State, Frank says, I guess we're supposed to forget that Albert Joey Bell. He was a nasty. That's right. He was real. Now he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Not good enough, especially after Big Sloppy made it. Big Sloppy. I like that. Big Sloppy.
Big Poppy. Oh, no.
Drew says he was at Hooters when he commented first getting plastered. But yeah, the Yankee season is over after Michael King's injury. That's not true. I think the Yankees will do fine as long as they don't have to play Houston. If they have to play Houston, they're not winning. Empire State Frank said,
Frank, just say Frank, Grumpy.
Frank, I'm gonna do it my way, okay? Stop trying to micromanage my reading of the comments.
Alrighty there, Frank Sinatra.
Yanks always got to have a catastrophic disaster happen. Losing Michael King is not a catastrophic disaster. A-Rod was also rumored to have been using steroids back in high school. Horse shit.
Look at him in high school. He was skinny. I'll get a picture.
He was skinny as a freaking rail. Wickerman also says Bond should never go in the hall for the hall. He took the forbidden steroids. His head grew a few inches. It looked like, okay, never positive tested, never anything. Did he use steroids? He absolutely did. I don't care. Frank said I had to shorten it, including Trey Sweeney. Yeah, Sweeney blows too. Come on, boy. Roll him up. Next one, please.
You know what, Grumpy? I'm trying to.
Wickerman said there's a Zagnut bar in the pool. It was a Baby Ruth, not a Zagnut. And Frank says, TJ, you don't know how many movies. So do you know what superhero movies were made back in the day? Yeah.
Superman movies. Okay. Yeah. He wasn't using steroids in high school. Look at A-Rod back in high school.
Absolutely
That's not a body of steroids.
Absolutely not. James Farrell says, Grumpy, don't ask TJ about movies or music. Just say, move along. I'll just say, move along, move along.
Move on.
These are not the droids you're looking for. Move along.
Frank's got a comment, Grump.
Frank says, I want to be Rodney Dangerfield in Caddyshack. He's my hero. That's why I do construction. Very good, Frank. Mario Roberto Vargas Herrera says, I agree with you, TJ. Superhero movies are for those who still believe in the Easter Bunny. After the Dark Knight trilogy, they should have locked it up and thrown away the keys.
You occasionally run across one that's good. And again, it's like everything that they're trying to pump out is all superhero movies because these people just go to them in massive hordes. So you've got all these collective brains just saying, oh, yeah, what should we go ahead and put? How are we going to make the superhero movie funny instead of working on actual art? There's no movies that come out that have actual artistic ability, I feel like, these days.
Yeah, like I said, I was talking with my other son, the smart one, who's actually seen movies, and my nephew yesterday when we were all getting haircuts. Wow, my hair looks really short.
You're getting a haircut with okay, got you. Go ahead.
Yeah. And we were talking about Top Gun. You know, everyone said Top Gun, best movie of the year. Okay, if this movie came out in the 80s, it would have been, oh yeah, it was pretty good. Wouldn't have made $1 billion though. I mean, it wasn't that good. It was good. I enjoyed it, but I wanted to end differently. Okay, move along. Here we go. Frank says, yeah, I used to ask why the Yankees pitched a big sloppy back in the day. Pitches would be down the middle. It happens. Drew says, bottom six grinders shirt for TJ and the Grumpy Old Man.
TJ and the Grumpy
Grinders. And they have to spell out GRIIINDER. Grinders. You know, something like the grinders.
The Wicker Man Grumpy.
Wicker Man says, Grumpy Old Man, nobody drinks Budweiser anymore. I don't drink it also. I mean, but I know they still sell plenty of that damn beer. Come on. Frank says, do you guys remember the Yankees and the Red Sox brawl back in the day? Best brawl ever. The Straw Man, Graham, Lloyd, etc. I took a VHS tape and recorded all the local highlights over and over again on it. LOL. Yes, I do remember. There was so many fights back in the day.
Pedro Martinez, the most recent one, just whoop.
Yeah.
Jump that
Don
guy.
Zimmer. Flip down old Don Zimmer. Flip down the old man. And he says he regrets it to this day.
Yeah.
Drew. And here's the thing. He's another guy, very, very likable.
Yes. He made the Hall of Fame, didn't he?
Yep. Super. Now, see, I don't think he had the numbers, but in big moments,
He was there.
If he's in, Schilling should be in, period, and sentence on story. Drew says, I'll send where I worked on Twitter just in case somehow someone is watching. That means that's probably for you, TJ.
Okay.
Apex Legends Senior Citizen says, would Grumpy Old Man come out of retirement to be the Islanders GM? TJ can be the new Fredo. He is now, just to let you know. And I would come out of Giants. I would come out of retirement just to help the Islanders out. Yes.
Drew said he'd much rather work for the podcast, though. I love it, Drew. Goon, Grumpy.
Grumpy, I'm surprised that you fancy those superhero movies. The first two Superman films with Mr. Reeves was great. The rest can sniff Chara's butthole. I'm not sniffing Chara's butthole, but some of the superhero movies I do enjoy, I have to say.
Yes.
Wickerman says, where is Conforto these days? Is he recovering? He's not signed with any team, and he is still recovering from his injury. Wickerman says he knows he's a free agent. Yes, he is. Frank says, TJ rubs his eyes a lot. It's like he's reading from a tiny cell phone screen instead of a tablet or a laptop. I'm sure that's the case. Tony Chi says, I have to give TJ an easy one with Angels of the Outfield. After defensive back Cooper for 6 months, I feel like he needed a pick-me-up. It's so funny. I saw like Netflix, and one of the things is defensive back Cooper, where are you? I'm like, oh, no. Yeah. Drew once again says Cashman will re-sign Judge. No way he doesn't, unless if he's got a trick up his sleeve. See, to me, trade yourself for some Soto, move on from Aaron Judge, you're ready to roll. Frank says, well, did you see what I posted a little earlier? The Yankees sat some big prospects mid-game, so some type of trade was made. We don't know. We can only hope. Frank also says, Tony, please use proper terminology. Defensive back Cooper. DB Cooper. That's all-timer, by the way.
I know.
Wickerman said Ty Cobb was, but it was a different world back then. True. Very true. Albert Joey Bell should be in the Hall of Fame. Disagree. Once again, Apex says, Grumpy Old Man, you boomer. If Ty Cobb is a racist, so is the pro-segregationist Muhammad Ali. The word racist is nothing but an anti-white slur. Wake up, Grumpy Old Man. I don't think that Muhammad Ali was, but certainly some of the people he hung around in the Muslim faction were. Wickerman says, I agree about Andrew Jones. He doesn't even have 2,000 hits. TJ, Keith Hernandez had 11 gold gloves, and he's not a Hall of Famer. Frank says, Don Mattingly is my all-time hero. I met him in Danbury Mall years ago. I have a huge poster signed. My brother said, you should be in the Hall of Fame. His face instantly was upset. Broke my heart. He had the most heart. He was a Yankee through and through. Never won a playoff series. He was in the dark times for the Yankees. Goon Goon says, TJ, let's try this one more time. Who did Grumpy say Howard Spira was? In the past month, he's been kind enough to explain it twice.
It was somebody who was hired by the Yankees GM or owner to get some dirt on somebody to try to void a contract. That's all I remember. I don't remember who the player was. It was, hold on. He was Dave Winfield. They tried to get some dirt on Dave Winfield, and Howard Spear was the guy he was the little rat who tried to get some information on Dave Winfield.
Who hired him?
Yeah, Dave Winfield, Grump.
Who hired him?
Yeah, Cashman, right?
No, Cashman. Cashman was still in diapers.
I don't know who the hell hired him.
Shit. It was George Steinbrenner.
Steinbrenner, gotcha. At least I remember it was Dave Winfield. There we go. Jeter was king of clutch, heart, and then Mr. Intangible.
Yes.
Wickerman, Grump.
Wickerman says A-Rod and Clemens have direct links to steroids. Remember that blood spinning nonsense in Toronto. A-Rod was constantly being found with links. I don't care. Everyone was using steroids. I do not care. Frank says A-Rod never had a tenth of Jeter's clutchness, heart, or intangibles. A-Rod was on roids, which helps production. Jeter was on shit too. Don't delude yourself to thinking he was. Look at him when he came up and look at him at the end. Please. Derek Jeter was taking something as well. I'm not saying he was on, but he was absolutely on something as well. Jeter was skinny and obviously no rights. Look at him towards the tail end of his career. He was not skinny anymore. Sorry.
Holy shit. Yeah, he was skinny as a freaking rail when he first came up.
Absolutely. But then look at him. Look at him towards the end.
Steroids affect everybody differently. Depends on how you work out. Depends on how you utilize them. And this guy, again, he's young. He's going to fill out a bit, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Go ahead. I mean, here's the thing. He was skinnier than A-Rod was in high school. Now put up his last year picture, or even 5 years earlier. No, sorry. That shirt doesn't even fit him. That's a children's extra.
He was never huge.
Yeah, but he was thick.
Never huge, but his quads definitely thickened up a bit. Worked out. I still don't think he did anything illegal, but I mean, like you look at him next to Dustin Pedroia. Dustin Pedroia is not a big guy per se, but Dustin Pedroia wasn't skinny as a rail. And you look at Jeter here, and you say, okay, the guy definitely thickened up a bit, but
yeah, absolutely.
You know, he's not okay. It's not like I'm thinking, okay. I mean, look at this.
Dustin Pedroia was like 5'9".
Anyway, I don't think Jeter, I'm not like pinning him as a, hey, he definitely did steroids, but
would it shock me if Derek Jeter used steroids? No, it would not.
It wouldn't. Go
Next. Ahead. Move along. Yeah, TJ, listen to your superior Grumpy, you pledge. I want to see you at 2,200 hours and without that pledge pin.
All right, Grumpy. Christopher C.
The Cardinals, Yankees, and Dodgers have enough talent. We, the Mets, need him more. True. And the Mets have enough to make that deal happen. Andrew L. says, the only superhero movies I like to watch is Batman. The different storylines and backgrounds of all characters is very interesting for some reason. He likes the dark side of the superhero world. Says it's not super unrealistic like Marvel, I guess. See, I loved the first Iron Man movie was great. Goon, am I correct or incorrect feeling that Stranger Things is equally good and equally really bloody stupid? I think that Stranger Things is, I don't know. It's okay. It's okay.
Like Stranger Things.
It's okay. It's simplistic. That's why you like it.
Okay. Yeah, I like Stranger Things.
Tony G says, I have to go back and clip the original DB Cooper. Yeah.
God. I didn't even remember what podcast that was. Thank God.
Frank says, yes, Grumpy Old Man Mattingly was in the dark era for the Yankees. For years, I said he kept the team alive, and he did. The Yankees can never repay him. It's true. He retired after that year where he was spectacular against Seattle in the playoffs, and then got beaten Game 5. Ken Griffey scoring the winning run.
Do you remember we happened to talk a little bit about how
Derek Jeter after steroids.
well, no, remember how we happened to talk a little bit about certain players that, are kind of, a little large, and if they would get in shape and took interest in their physical appearance and they took interest in their physique and what the production was out there on the field, they'd be much better ball players. And it goes pretty much across all sports. MLB, NFL, doesn't really matter.
Is that Mekhi Becton?
No, so this is not Mekhi Becton. Leonard Fournette.
Geez. Leonard Fournette.
This is Leonard Fournette posted this one, and I love I love that he put the meme up. He said, "Camp in 2 days. Love y'all. I'm off."
Oh, that's good. I like it. I like it. A man who's not afraid to laugh at himself, you gotta love him.
I was about to say, but get your ass in shape, Leonard Fournette. Jesus Christ, get in shape, buddy. Oof.
Well, I guess one of the assistant coaches came and says that stuff is all overblown.
Was that Grump?
He said one of the coaches came out and said that stuff is all overblown.
Okay.
We'll find out. We'll find out Wednesday or Tuesday.
James F said, "Time for fight of the night." I'm not sure we got any fights. I'm not sure we got any of those yet today. Apex Legend says, "Not all anabolic steroids are super toxic and dangerous. Why shouldn't an MLBer be able to use 200 milligrams of testosterone every week? It's safe, helps recovery, strength. Why is it bad? They chew tobacco." Yeah, again, I don't care what people do. I really don't.
The only ones that
People
hurting
use it in your gym. You go to your gym, your average gym, you're going to see people who use some sort of would be ruled as illegal for professional athletes to use. But you see them with the back knee all over the place at the age of 30 years old, their body and you see a ripple in arms and everything like that. You can definitely tell, they're using something. And like, I'm not over there saying, "Oh, those are bad for you." Not my business. Move along. And then Drill said, "Uncle Lenny just built like Uncle now. It comes with age." Lenny Dykstra.
TJ, did I sent you some pictures of some helmets? The NFL, of course, in their never-ending quest to be greedy and milk as much money out of the public as they can. There's one helmet I wanted to talk about. Do you know which one in particular?
I didn't look at that, but as I'm getting that pulled up, we talked about guys who were coming out of shape, look like they're not motivated, or that's the rumor, at least around that's the rumor around Leonard Fournette. Look at our boy Jameis Winston. Honestly, I was never a big Jameis Winston guy, but I do want to go ahead. What
was he doing? Swinging his pee-pee around? Whip,
whip, whip, whip. I was trying to make sure I got a lot.
Look at my pee-pee. Whip, 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 whip. That's what he was doing. Show that again.
Jameis Winston looks in the best shape of his freaking life. He looks motivated. And again, I'm not sure how much this shit's going to help him on the field balance-wise. But here's the thing. This is the best shape I've ever seen Jameis Winston. And I've never been a huge Jameis Winston guy, but I'm kind of rooting for him this year. It looks like he's finally taking shit seriously. The first time he's not going to show up there out of shape. The first time he's going to show into camp like he's legitimately ready to go. And I'm rooting for a guy like that this year. Glad it finally clicked. Just hope it's not too little too late.
Okay. There is swinging a peepee. Whoop, 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 whoop. There we go.
It's working on rotation. Are you talking about the Bengals, Grumpy?
Yes. Talk about only Cincinnati could bangle up a helmet change.
What, do you not like it or something?
Okay. What does that helmet look like?
I don't know.
They look like, put the helmet up. Put it up.
I'll be putting it up. Give me a sec.
Put it up. How long I gotta go wait?
I had to go ahead and pull up from my text messages and get it retweeted and then get the screen shared. Here you go, Grump.
Okay. What does that look like?
I don't know.
Looks like a freaking zebra. They look like they should be called the Zebras. They're no longer the Bengals. They're the Zebras.
Christ,
why the hell would you wear a white and black striped helmet? That's what a zebra looks like.
I kind of see the zebra now as well.
How could you not?
Well, that wasn't the first thing I was thinking of, to be quite frank. The zebras.
What were you thinking?
The zebras. So they're going to be using these this year as a third helmet?
Yes.
Yikes.
It's like everyone else is doing like black helmets.
You remember the throwback to the old Pittsburgh Steelers uniform that looked atrocious?
Yes.
Ugh. That's kind of what this gives me vibes of.
Well, no, but that was a throwback to like the 1930s or 1940s, whenever they first started in the league. They
I
had
see.
those hideous uniforms that I'm like, hey, Madison Avenue, NFL Madison Avenue, what the hell are you thinking?
Good
I mean,
gracious.
the Patriots are going back to the Pat Patriot helmet. Every year when I was playing football as a kid, rec football, I was always the freaking Patriots, and I hated that helmet. I wanted to be the Raiders so bad. I never got the Patriots or the Packers or the Bears. I never got to be the Raiders or the Rams.
You used to play football.
Yes, I was good,
Yeah.
better than you. That's for certain.
Yeah, the bullshit to that. When did you used to play football? How old were you?
Oh, when I was a kid, I don't know how old, a long time ago.
A long time ago, he says. I remember.
Recreational football when you're a kid.
Oh God, you had jersey. Hold on, you had uniforms for recreational football.
Yeah, what the hell? Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about, before we get back to comments, Tennessee, Grumpy. I want to get your opinion on this. So, former coach Jeremy Pruitt and his wife, with several members of staff, provided about $60,000 of impermissible benefits and recruiting inducements to more than 2 dozens of recruits and their families over a 3-year time period. And on top of that, detailing they had 18 NCAA violation level ones, which are the highest level violations for the recruits. And you'll also see here an additional reports there, the New York Post, with these 18 recruiting infractions that also included on visits, taking some of the players to the nail salon visits. Now, Grump, want to get your initial reaction there on the Tennessee Volunteers. Do you think this is going to be something that's going to severely hurt their program now that name, image, and likeness is more of a readily accessible item? But remember, we had talked about this before name, image, and likeness existed. We had talked about the Tennessee Volunteer players getting handed wads of cash in McDonald's bags. Do you remember that? That was the rumor, that the Tennessee Volunteers coaching staff and boosters were handing bags of McDonald's to recruits that had wads of cash in them.
I think it's hypocritical for them to go after Tennessee because everything's legal now. Everything. I mean, I'm sure this is probably their last dying breath to punish a program, because the NCAA now is absolutely irrelevant as far as I'm concerned in any type of rules that they want to have with any college teams at this point in time. But I think they're probably going to punish Tennessee. I don't think they should, though.
I think they should.
Okay.
I do. Everybody has already been getting paid. I understand that.
And they got caught. They just got caught. That's all it is. They got caught.
Here's the thing, though. When you're sloppy, I think when you're unbelievably sloppy and everybody's breaking the rules, don't be sloppy. I mean, like the thing with the McDonald's bags where they're handing them wads of cash in a McDonald's bag, that was true. I'm like, that's just unbelievably sloppy. You were breaking the rules, but everybody's breaking the rules. When you're being so unbelievably sloppy, you're saying essentially, hey, come and get me. You kind of deserve to be punished for the foolishness.
Okay. Like I said, everyone was doing it. They got caught. That's it. They just got caught. Everyone was doing it. They got caught. That's all. That's all.
I don't know. I kind of wonder a little bit about these nail salon visits.
I don't even have a comment on that. I've never been to a nail salon.
All I'm going to say is this.
Have you?
You remember who was it? Was it Rutgers program who was doing that? Or was it, what basketball program was taking kids out and they were essentially getting them set up with prostitutes when they went out to visit the school? What basketball program did that?
That was Louisville Cardinals basketball program.
Louisville did that. I'm sorry. Thank you for the correction. I wonder if there's something like that going on. That's a little different than paying the guys too.
Okay.
So more of that in the just the blatant lack of secrecy to it. I think that, you're gonna be popped when that stuff happens.
Okay. I'm just gonna say, if they were soliciting prostitutes for recruits, it would have been reported. You think they're
Well,
going to
as of
sit
right
on that?
now,
You
all
think
it
they're going to
says
sit on that?
perhaps the strangest allegation against the Pruitt team was coaches paid $225 so that several prospects' family members and prospects could have their nails treated at the salon.
Maybe
I'm also saying it had like a $500. I don't know. It's an odd one. Maybe there is something, malicious going on behind it. Maybe not. I don't know. Anytime I think about salon visits and recruits, unless you're, I don't imagine many college football players getting their nails, getting a mani-pedi. I could see their family members doing that, but not the player. So makes you wonder a bit.
I don't even care. Honestly, don't even care. I think it's ridiculous. It's just, it was an open secret. They just got caught. Everyone does it. Every program does it. They just got caught. That's all.
So you think you're in Tennessee deserves no punishment for this type of ban?
I think the cat's out of the bag now. That doesn't even need to happen anymore. You don't need to do that anymore. Just all those boosters, just pay your money. Name, image, and likeness. That's how you sell it now. Hey,
we're
we're
going to
gonna put your
slap them on
picture
my
up.
local Wendy's because I own a whole bunch of Wendy's and I want to go ahead and pay Johnny to come to our school and he's going to be on our napkins.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get a picture of him and I'm going
Again,
to pay
it's
Johnny $500,000 to be on napkins.
The archaic NCAA not thinking that the players, the ones who bring all the money in, should get any benefit of that. That's all it is. And they're trying to, for the last time, they're trying to hang on to that. Just give it up, NCAA. You frauds.
Give it up.
They're freaking frauds. They're frauds.
Give it up, NCAA.
They got no problem. They got no problem sucking off the player teat to make themselves millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars. And, the kid gets a couple of nail salon visits and you're going to dump him? Come on, give me a break.
Got some money, got some car payments, got some nail salons, etc. They all do it. There's no doubt about it.
They all do it.
I don't disagree, but I mean, Jesus, that they were handing the cash to him in the bags of McDonald's. Holy shit. Grump, we talked about this kind of a little more in depth yesterday on the Honors Never Say Die podcast, just so for people who happen to miss it, we're going to cover that briefly. And for those who don't watch the Honors Never Say Die podcast, the Florida Panthers and the Calgary Flames made a trade. The Calgary Flames traded away Matthew Tkachuk, who was not willing to sign a long-term deal with the Calgary Flames. They traded him to the Florida Panthers this weekend on Friday, and the Flames got back in return Jonathan Huberdeau, Mackenzie Weegar, Cole Schwint, and a first-round pick. Grump, just a quick synopsis on what you think of the trade, how it helps both teams.
I think Florida wins. I think that the Flames got a nice haul, considering that, they were kind of between a rock and a hard place with Tkachuk. But I think Florida wins that trade just because they got Matt Tkachuk, changes the culture of the room a little bit. And remember, Florida had the issues with going out to the strip club.
Going out partying to the clubs at 4 a.m. as they were down in the series to the Tampa Bay Lightning 3-0.
With a day game the next day.
Yes.
So, and, supposedly.
Not a good look.
And these Huberdeau and Weegar were supposedly two of the people who were maybe they couldn't wait
up till 4 a.m. when they have an elimination game where they could be eliminated from the playoffs the next day.
So maybe that's kind of an addition by subtraction thing. This Tkachuk takes hockey seriously. Maybe Florida didn't think that these two players did.
I think that when you look at it on paper, maybe Calgary got a little bit back more in return than Florida did. We talked about this, though, yesterday. Florida was not going to have the cap space to keep both Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar going forward long-term. So they determined to go ahead and say, where do you think we're going to take the better of the players, more of a playoff-style player Matthew Tkachuk is, and we can go ahead and use this to get rid of two players now that might hurt us more this year, perhaps, but we were not going to be able to keep long-term. So we'll get Tkachuk long-term. We would go ahead and give up more on the front end, but long-term, we think it's going to help us win a cup and help change the culture. So I think this benefits both teams. That's for certain, Grump.
As long as the Flames can sign those two players back.
That's the biggest if. Well, hold on a second. It's funny you mentioned that, whether they could sign those players back. Give me a second. This happens to be, I think, trending from Andrew Raycroft. You remember the old goalie for the Bruins?
Yes, I do.
No, not the right spot.
Chain smoker party. Okay.
No, give me a second here. He had Jesus. I've got to Andy
dead?
Francis
Oh my God.
reposted this. Hold on a second. Oh no. I don't want that popping up.
That was
because
Randy. That
I
was
do
Randy.
not want the or WWE popping up because they immediately will go ahead and take down the stream. So that's why I do not want that up. Give me a sec, Grumpy. Oh, here it is. So Andrew Raycroft said this guy's definitely going to re-sign in Calgary. Doesn't necessarily look like a car that you'd be using up in that area. I don't know. Early speculation around, but if you're Calgary, you have to re-sign Huberdeau. If you don't, you're absolutely and utterly the loser of that deal.
Just looking at a couple of those pictures and what you hear about that party, I bet you Florida's ecstatic that they got Tkachuk for Huberdeau. Ecstatic. He looks like he's absolutely living the I'm an NHL player lifestyle when maybe hockey's not the most important thing to him.
He works hard at hockey, but he also plays a little too hard. It's not like everything is regarding the game, regarding improving his game, perhaps.
Who would you rather have? I know who I'd rather have.
I'd rather have the guy who works hard and hockey's his life.
There you go.
That's who you want.
Yep. I think I even feel more confident that Florida won that deal. Now, when I see absolutely.
Drew L said, well, about the NBA, why not mention that Russell Westbrook fired his agent because he got into a dispute over his trade value? Laughing my ass off. Russell is the most delusional player ever. I didn't know that. My God, he's living in clown world.
He has no trade value. I mean, did the agent say that he had trade value? Because sorry, Russell.
Apex Legend Senior Citizen says, TJ, you look like the strongest natty in the room. No, I appreciate the compliment, but I'm lazy and fat these days. Alexander says, hey, Grump and TJ, how are you? Doing well, Alexander. How about yourself? Sorry about being late. Enjoying bowling with my coworkers Mets. Another Coke come from behind wind.
Yeah.
Drew L said Jameis does all these extravagant workouts and he's still going to throw 30 plus interceptions.
Okay. Now, last year when he was playing with the Saints, it was different offense.
He was hurt. Yeah.
But he played early on. I think he only had 2 interceptions when he got injured. I think in 9 touchdowns.
He wasn't in great shape then. I think he's really taken a football first mentality all off season long.
Maybe he did that the year before as well.
He didn't look like his physique didn't look like the way his physique looks now.
Yeah, he wasn't.
He didn't look like he was in shape. He looked still a little, okay. He didn't look like a professional athlete. Let me put it to you like that. He didn't look like most professional QBs in the league.
He didn't look like Jamarcus Russell either, though.
Okay, he wasn't the fat. He didn't look like a Jared. Who the hell was the hefty lefty from Kentucky that went to play for the Giants? Jared something with an L. Jared with an L.
Yeah, if you would have just let me say it, I had it.
Jared Lorenzen.
That's it.
He didn't look like him though either. And then Frank says, "Yeah, Grumpy old man, you and I are bigger now than 15 or 20 years ago, like Jeter." And I mean, we use steroids, laughing out loud, or it's just we're hitting the 40 and over club.
Yeah, all I'm saying is, here's the thing. You obviously, I'm just being funny before, but you always put on weight the older you get. I mean, he was a boy when he was drafted. So I think he was 18 years old, whatever it was. And, as you get older, you just anything like that, you're going to put weight on. But all I'm saying is everyone was using steroids. And it wouldn't shock me if he was doing something as well. Because all players are doing something.
Alexander said, what the freak type of workout is that? Don't drop the football on a ball workout. Drew L said, Grumpy, there's a team called the Zebras. It's the refs.
Yeah, maybe Cincinnati's trying to curry favor with the officials.
Frank said that is a horrible helmet. Alexander said, I thought the trade for Tkachuk was a good one for the Panthers. Lou needs to be all over Huberdeau.
If Huberdeau's an unrestricted free agent last year, why not roll the dice on him? Why not go all in for him? I mean, certainly.
You just said that you didn't like the lifestyle that he's living. You think that's going to be better on long?
I'm saying for Florida. Florida winning that trade. As a free agent, I mean, wouldn't he be great with Matt Barzal? Honestly, maybe a little bit too much of a playmaker, but he puts the puck in the net. I mean, and I don't think it would be as much of an issue because they got a lot of veterans on that team.
Mario says looks a little bit like a Siberian tiger. I think so too. Makes
I'm
a little
going-
like a Siberian tiger.
I'm going with zebra. Sorry.
Frank said, "Hell yeah, we played sandlot football games too." Grumpy old man. My buddy had a bunch of a whole punch hole through his lip from a cleat. You could see his tooth, broke collarbones, ruptured spleens. There were battles out there.
Yeah. Hey, it was survival of fittest out there.
I think you guys were built weak back then. Alexander said the Cincinnati Zebras.
I'm going to call them the Zebrellas.
And Andrew L said, TJ, did you reach out to future guests today?
Nope.
Not yet. I will be tonight, though. Not yet, though. I will be tonight. Andrew L said, and his defensive back, Cooper. One of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be great if we get defensive back Cooper on the podcast?
If we can get defensive back Cooper on the podcast, boys, that would be something special.
It would be the highest rated podcast of all freaking time.
the greatest rated podcast of all time. Frank says, yes, and get Nicole on. TJ, she's great. We're going to have her on. Absolutely. We were going to have her on before the draft, but we wanted to wait until after the draft to talk some prospects. But yes, we're going to have her on. Andrew L said, Grump is going to hate me for this, but you guys should have Phil on more often. Very knowledgeable. I like having Phil on.
Yeah, Phil is knowledgeable. He's just boring, just dull.
We like Phil.
We do like Phil. We love Phil. Phil's a great guy. Really
I like Phil. He's great. Yeah, he is. Sure.
Yeah, he is. Absolutely.
Drew L said, honestly, I'd be shocked to hear if anybody isn't from the Islanders Never Say Die podcast on this. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably
Actually, no, we have some people who listen to the show who are not Islanders Never Say Die people.
Very
People have heard us do live stream games and stuff like that, college football.
Mm-hmm. And Phil, Grumpy Old Man, and TJ mix well together. Yeah.
It's true. It's true. We're a good mix.
And oh man, spelling is off. No worries, Alexander. I thought the same exact thing, Drew. And Andrew Raycroft, the guy that the Leafs got for Tuukka Rask. Oof.
Yeah, think about that.
Oof. Hold on. The Leafs had Tuukka Rask and traded him?
Yeah.
No, are you serious? This is Christ.
That's Toronto. Probably Lou traded him. Not true.
Got to go back and look at this.
He was before Lou, but we might as well throw Lou under the bus for that one.
Yeah, the Maple Leafs drafted him 21st overall.
Yeah.
And they traded him, I guess. Holy shit.
I don't know who the GM was. I do not know who the GM was at the time.
This is back in like 07. This is before Lou.
Yeah. I just don't know who the GM at the time was for Toronto.
Thanks, Drew, for reminding me of that. My gosh. And the agent said he didn't have trade value, of course. Yeah.
The truth is painful sometimes.
I said, did you guys get my fan fights? They were all like this way. And I was like, okay, they're tough. They were tough to see what was going on in them. So I was just like, yeah, we'll push them to the next podcast and look at them then, Grumpy, because I'm like, I knew we had a full scale item with the MLB trade deadline. Goongood says, Grumpy, when discussing Caddyshack before, you mentioned one of the actors was in SNL. Actually, two of them, because Murray and Chevy were both in SNL.
That's what I said. I mentioned Chevy Chase after the fact.
Alexander says, I'd be a great guest on the show too. Absolutely, Alexander. Absolutely. We got the call-ins there, and we're gonna, I don't know, we gotta have it to where we're trying to get more, we're trying to figure out what's going on in the off season. I don't know if we'll do or how many guests we'll have on in the off season. I'm thinking like, what is it, every Wednesday, maybe Saturdays? I don't know, Grumpy. We gotta get figured out.
Don't even get me involved. You don't involve me in anything anyway. I just show up.
Drew L says, I mean, the Rangers have Brassard. They traded for Zibanejad.
That worked out for them pretty good.
Westbrick or Brickhead. It's too thick to hear any truths.
True.
Wow, and I didn't know. Yeah, Rask was on the Leafs. Yeah, he was drafted. I've totally forgotten that. Westbrook is a bum. That's true too.
Bum.
Grumpy man, we're here at the end of today's show. What do you want to say before we wrap things up?
I want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens, and even those who don't, from TJ and the Grumpy Old Man.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and listening to the show. We will see you guys this next Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, have a great start to your work week. We'll see you guys on Thursday. Thank you again, Grumpy Old Man.
My pleasure.